What it do?
You know, I've been saying, hey, I don't know why he stopped saying that. He used to say that like every week. Now he don't say it at all. Huh?
I said, we on the air?
What'd you say, Colin? We on the air.
What's up, man? How's it going? Can you hear me clearly?
Yes. Yep, I can hear you. Can you hear me back?
Welcome to tonight's welcome to tonight's show, everyone. Thank y'all for tuning in. Should be another good
Sitting
one.
back.
Do black men feel they need to be perfect for women these days?
Yes.
What kind of women are y'all talking to? Because I can be myself. How's the week been, man?
Good, really good actually. Transparently good. I'll say that. How about yourself? Do you think that dating coaches bash women? Elbows ashy. They look ashy, or is that just the light reflecting?
I think they tell some truth out here. I don't think they bash them.
Say that again.
I said I think they tell them the truth. I don't think they bash them. It's just a matter of handling the truth.
Gotcha.
It depends on what dating coach you're talking about. So, I mean, I don't really watch dating coaches, so it just depends on the content.
I understand. I would like that outro song. I'm gonna start playing that. I'm gonna just start using it way more often because I feel I need to. Hello, Mr. Hardiman.
Yeah.
Good
What's
evening. Oh, you're switching audio on us.
Yeah. I switched up everything. New camera, new everything.
I can tell your camera is much clearer. I need to get to the grown-up camera phase. I'm gonna get there one day.
Yeah, no longer using the webcam. So
You said the wet cam?
webcam.
You use a webcam now?
I said no longer using the webcam.
What made you switch?
Me using this professional camera. Chris, are you here today?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Are you psychologically there? Are you mentally there?
I am mentally here. I am
All right.
mentally, physically, and emotionally present.
Because I stated I now have a new camera. You acknowledge by saying, yes, I noticed the clarity. And then I say, I no longer have to use the webcam.
Oh, see, your voice is like, I know I have to use the webcam like that. So that's what I heard. I'm positive. I wouldn't tell you a story.
So it's modulated?
No. It's just that your voice dipped, and then you pronunciated webcam, and so that's what I heard. So, but
you
I've
can't
been
hear me
guilty of
clearly.
selective hearing anyway. So,
But you can't hear me clearly.
Yes.
All right.
Loud
Cool.
and clear.
All right.
Just need to be audible.
I ain't gonna be able to do these headphones the whole show. I can already tell.
Because you can't put them over your hat.
Yeah.
I mean, it's perfectly fine to get rid of them. Perfectly fine.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Esther would not approve.
I'm gonna swap out. I'm gonna go find my iPhone headphones. I'll be right back.
Please. That's not gonna work. That is so funny. That's a picture of Shan. Put your name. Hilarious. Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Ask a Black Man Anything, Thursday night show. Wherever you are in Radio Land, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in. We are here. We are live. We are present. Anyways, tonight we're going to have a spectacular show as always. It's going to be intriguing and all of the things. So if you are...
All right, testing 1, 2, 3. Is this good?
It's just as good as the other one.
All right. What's up, Robert? What the heck?
That's comedy. Somebody asked me one time, why don't I smile more often in my pictures? And I told them, I said, I don't like the way I smile. My eyes squint when I smile. So I, oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah, that's me. I squint when I smile too. So
No, see, your eyes are still like open. Like my eyes literally close like I'm Chinese.
Man, my friend gave me the nickname Squints because of it.
You literally see almost nothing.
What up, Mr. Longmire?
Nothing much, Mr. Collin. Nothing much. How you fellas doing today?
Good.
His audio is working and it's like synced.
What?
Right.
Put in the other earpiece. It probably jacked it up right there.
There you go. Switching earpieces and such. I tell you what. You were fine with the with no earpiece, but we're gonna go for it. So welcome everybody to Ask a Black Man Anything. We are here. We are live and in color. And I'm gonna upgrade to you gotta tell me, Colin, what do I need to do to like do I like get a professional camera and then like set it up on a tripod? Is that the situation that's happening?
Yeah, pretty much. You connect it via USB or SDI, HDMI. The most important thing is that your computer sees it. So I've been having this equipment. I just never thought to get it out of storage and use it. But since we're getting more requests for like in-person events and things like that, I was just like, well, because
bring it out.
The event I just went to in Austin, we use Restream. So I actually had to patch in my professional camera to stream the content we was filming on the main stage. So I was just like, well, why not start using this for our Restream? So I just been sitting on this equipment basically. So I was just like, let me just use my own studio equipment to improve my own presentation. And this is my first time using it. So yeah. But yeah, any professional camera, a consumer camera, as long as your computer sees it, it usually just connects via USB, or HDMI. Those are the main two.
Gotcha.
And then when you open up Restream, Zoom, whatever, it should see that camera. If it doesn't, then it's either incompatible, or you might need to do a software update, or you might need to try a different camera.
Oh, so it's just like using a webcam, because I use a 4K webcam right now, but I want to go to the next level. But I don't know if it's only connected by USB. I don't know if I'm broadcasting 4K to Radio Land.
Yeah, only thing is you just go to the settings and just check your sources. So yeah, you're just swapping out your source. I'm not using my webcam. I'm just pointing it towards my professional camera. So yeah.
Go to my settings. Go to my settings.
I noticed something that, well, y'all don't know, it just got me excited, and it's weird because Elon Musk does weird things, right? He sold almost $4 billion worth of Tesla shares at the end of the day, dropped Tesla stock down like $300. And he's talking about he's no longer going to have any Tesla sales from this day forward. And I'm like, this guy just lives in his own world and does what he wants to do and has fun with it the whole time.
And then bought Twitter.
And bought Twitter on top of that. Curious to see what his next move is at this.
You said he dumped $4 billion of stock?
Yeah, $3.99 billion worth. Why he didn't just go with 4, I don't know. But and then tweets out no further Tesla sales, and it's like, should be interesting. Should be interesting.
So he's not selling stock, or he's not selling the cars.
It's just open ended like that. Like that's the tweet. There's no more. What does it say? Let me see if it's still here. I
Oh
lost it. I
well,
gotta go back to it.
I don't tweet, so you
Yeah, I
can't Twitter
hardly ever
me.
get on Twitter either. But
I really
Twitter's a
don't
If
great
it,
follow him
resource.
like that. I do notice when he tweets, like he already has maybe like anywhere from 50,000 within the first 5 minutes. So if he just
Yeah,
tweets something, he's just like already making like 50,000 likes or something like that. It shows up on his tweets show up on my timeline all the time, but he has just like a legion of followers, and I personally don't understand it and don't get it.
if
You
the
know,
thing
it's just
is he will go down as one of the greatest people that we've had. But the thing is whenever he tweets, there's an opportunity to make money somewhere, and so people follow his tweets because a lot of times he'll direct you on a pathway to make money. You just got to decipher what it is he's talking about. He single-handedly moved Dogecoin. He moves his own stock. Sometimes people pay attention. I think announced he announced like a week before his company, before Tesla announced their earnings, that they had distributed more Teslas in the first quarter than they had in a while. And so, of course, their earnings come back very positive. So, if it's all about making money to me with him, but it's also kind of entertaining to see a person that's actually living the way they want to live because who cares?
I
So,
I wonder what's going to happen with the Twitter purchase.
I was thinking he was just going to use the T from Tesla and put it over the Twitter so he has both his logos inside of one.
I mean, I'm interested to see what happens when you give a guy unlimited access to free speech and change the way that people can share on the internet, things like that. So there's that.
Yeah.
Anyways, to the business of the day. Good, as I said before. Good evening, and welcome to Ask a Black Man Anything. I am among these great gentlemen, your co-host here on this great show. Take it away, Mr. Longmire.
I am Robert Longmire out of Bakersfield, California. Happy to be on the show again today, and I feel like I kind of recently had an experience with our topic, so maybe I'll be able to share upon that and hopefully shed some light on it because it's very interesting question there. Mr. Hardiman.
Colin Hardiman, Houston, Texas. Yeah, it's an interesting topic tonight that I'm interested to get into. So hopefully we get some questions from the audience as well. We get some people coming on camera. But yeah, anxious to hear you gentlemen's perspectives on the topic. So, Mr. Christopher.
I can tell that you're like in a hollow room.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, your
It's like
sound's
your work
bouncing.
room.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's fine to me, but
I need to
I'm
get
not in audio.
some more insulation. Because I am slowly turning this place into a studio.
Okay. Kind of figured that. Anyways, Chris Davis in Atlanta, Georgia, by way of Buffalo, New York. I'm the author of. Sorry about that. I thought I had it closer. 2 great books: The Edge of Greatness. There we go. And then The Ultimate Vetting Guide. You can find both of those on Amazon, or you can go to the link in my Instagram bio, which is right there on the screen. Love for you to support and purchase both of my books. I'm a creative, and so I'm here to create. That's what I do. So with that being said, I'm excited to be here, as I am every Thursday night. Some days, I think. Some days I think it's like I don't want to go, and then it's like 15 minutes till it's like okay, it's showtime. So I'm always excited, when I finally arrive, when I finally get to that place. I appreciate you all being here and just watching with us and just, hanging out with these great fellas. Um, throughout the internet streets, I've been just kind of watching and scouring and listening to all the things that have happened, from the Will Smiths to the Jada backlash to sports, this and that. And shout out to my Eagles. I was supposed to wear my Eagles hat. We picked a great pick in our first round, so I'm loving that. Bop, 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 bop. Fly Eagle fly. Robert, you a Raiders fan?
No, no, no. Oh, no. I'm a 49er fan at heart. That's my number one team. Baltimore Ravens, number two. Go back and forth with those two.
Yeah, I'm loyal to the Eagles. I don't have split loyalty on that.
You poor thing. You poor thing.
No, I'm loyal. I'm like to.
No, I get it. I get it. But it's still just a horrible team to choose as a favorite. That's all.
I mean, when's the last time Baltimore won the championship?
When's the last time the Eagles? You guys barely made the playoffs this last year.
Yeah, but we won a championship like 4 years ago. So.
Well, I mean, Baltimore wasn't too far behind, and
You're like 12.
Let's not talk about the 49ers pedigree.
They haven't won a championship in a while.
Yeah, well, they've made some horrible choices.
Yeah, we're not gonna talk about that. So, as we scour the internet streets, one of the things that I think is important is that we bring you all topics that are self-evident, but also we just want to just highlight some things. Many men feel like that what to our topic that we're talking about tonight. But before I talk any longer, I'm just going to come right to the video.
So I've been looking at a lot of videos and going through the comment sections and just kind of seeing women's takes and their perspectives on dating and relationships now. And I'm not going to lie, some of those standards that you all feel as though you have placed are really just unreasonable and unrealistic expectations. So let's be real about this. It's not that men don't want relationships, and it's not that men don't want to marry, because there are a lot of men who still want that. It's just that they are attentive to what is going on now. That is a huge sacrifice for men to marry. Let's be real about this. They know that they are more than likely potentially sacrificing their freedom, their resources, their ideas, sometimes their beliefs as well. If you look at it, many of them know that, let's just say the marriage does not work. Who's the judge going to favor? Most likely it's going to be the woman, especially if they have kids. So when a man is dating, he's paying attention to everything. You want to be pursued. You want a man to pour into your cup. You want a man to invest in you financially. You want him to invest his time into you, all of his resources, all of that stuff. But what are you investing into him? Men are going to pay attention to that. What do you do to fill my cup? If I am filling your cup, what are you doing to fill my cup? I have to invest all of this into you, but society has conditioned you to the belief that you don't have to put anything into me. Let's just be real about this. I'm going to take you up one further, okay? So many of you ladies don't invest enough into yourselves intellectually or spiritually or emotionally to be able to invest into some of these men. Just being real with you, okay? Are you adding to his fruition? Are you supporting him? No, he's already seen that you are not someone he wants to make his wife. He's already seen that. So why would he go and pursue you to be his wife when he can just have you as a situation? And I already know some of you women are going to come in here and try to combat this idea. I'm fine with that. But let's be real about it. Men are seeing everything. Some of you women are irrational. Some of you women allow your emotions to dictate your behavior. Also, a lot of you women have allowed society to condition you. And many of you women compare your relationships and your dating experiences to those of your friends. So not only does he have to meet up to your standards, but he also has to meet up to your friends' unrealistic standards or unrealistic expectations as well, because you tend to place those on the men you date. Come on now. Do some self-reflection to see. Maybe you're the problem.
Whoa, she didn't said a whole word.
That was heavy. Because and here's the thing, right? Every time I share something on from a dating coach or from a relationship specialist or something like that, I share it with multiple people, and I share it to get their perspective so that I can understand where they stand um, in relationships to what she says. Not only that, I also want to see how they think and how they respond to someone sharing what their experience has been. And are they the type of person to dismiss immediately what someone says that is in the coaching space? And obviously, she's teaching and coaching thousands of people. We're going to literally, right, have to go back up and respond in pieces because she said there's a lot to unpack there. So first 10 seconds, and then Robert, you look like you chomping at the bit.
Man, like you said, I'm trying to like Shan said and you said, I'm trying to break it down. She done put a whole lot out there, and it just makes me perk up because there's a lot of that I've thought and been thinking for a while, but it's a good opportunity to kind of speak on it. So I'm halfway replaying it on my phone here so I can hear it one more time. But if we're gonna do the first 10 seconds here, we can go like that.
Nope. Colin, replay the first 15-20 seconds.
So I've been looking at a lot of videos and going through the comment sections and just kind of seeing women's takes and their perspectives on dating and relationships now. And I'm not going to lie, some of those standards that you all feel as though you have placed are really just unreasonable and unrealistic expectations. So
Unreasonable and unrealistic expectations. You want to go into a point?
Go ahead.
real about this. It's not that men don't want to relate.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Robert.
No, I can't hear it through the restream, so I have to watch it on YouTube. So I'm delayed behind y'all for a reason. I don't know why I can't hear it on restream. So
you have to upgrade your internet.
Nah, it's not that. It just ain't coming through for me on restream. I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's in the set what, but
so her first thing was talking about unrealistic expectations.
yeah, a lot of that. There's a lot of unrealistic expectations, even from the points that come from the manosphere and even from the points that I come up with. Like, there's a lot of people out there searching for basically the 1%ers in the black community. That's an unrealistic expectation if you're not even near around that 1%. If you part of the doggone 80% that's not doing very well for themselves, it's not very likely that a 1% person is going to want to bring you all the way up to where his level is or where her level is. It goes both ways. But um, and that goes with not only with finances, it goes with intellect, it goes with just knowledge of self and who you are. Like for myself, I know I wouldn't date somebody if I don't feel like they are comfortable with who they are in their own spirit. But there's some people who feel like know that they're broken, know that they don't have their mental right, know that they have ill thoughts about men, all men are trash, and then still want to go ahead and date someone who has their mental put together. It's not gonna be something like we gonna scout that out and say, nah, you're not somebody that I can date in the long term. So
Yeah, and on the topic of unrealistic expectations, which side of it is it that mainly has unrealistic expectations? So I know you said it's both, but men typically don't have unrealistic expectations of women. I'm not saying we don't at all, but we typically don't. Our demands are typically simple, from keeping us fed to being our peace to being respectful to just taking care of the home. I mean, we can count that on one finger. But when it comes to unrealistic expectations, it's mainly coming from women because they want 3, 4, 5 pages long, a long list of things that men should have. So I don't necessarily agree when you said it should be both sides. It's just like, no, it's kind of one side. It's lopsided. It's typically coming from females.
I will say I agree with that. I feel like more often than not, in my experience, it has been the women that come up with unrealistic expectations are like you say, a laundry list 4 or 5 pages deep, single line tightly squeezed together, and they just have a whole list of requests of what they want from a man. Um, Again, I'm gonna stop right there. Mr. West, welcome to the building, my brother.
I think that
Gentlemen,
the
can you
list of
hear me?
expectations, we can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I think the list of expectations has been because of so many failures from other people. And so a lot of times what we found is that what I found that in this particular dating environment, relationship environment, is that when one person has failed you, whether it be a divorce or a long-term relationship has ended, um, um, I find that what they do is they say, well, this person didn't give me this, so I got to make sure I get it in the next relationship. And that's what starts the unrealistic expectations. Um, that's where I just want to go there. I mean, I don't think it's much more than that. And I can say that I actually used to do it, right? That was actually my story. I used to have a laundry list of things that she must do in order to be my wife. And then as I grew and matured and went through my healing process, I realized that, hey, you know what? I have one deal breaker, and it's abuse of any kind.
And furthering the expectations things, it's not even being aware enough of what expectations they actually need to fulfill themselves or have a fulfilling relationship. It's just expectations of the
Mm.
whole world, and it's not even something that complements the person that they are.
So I think it goes hand in hand with what you just said and then what Chris said, because if we're talking about vetting, properly vetting, when they get with the wrong person, you know, the expectations just become more and more. They just mount up. There's even more expectations because they've been hurt in a relationship or they were done wrong in another relationship. So now they're bringing this baggage and extra expectations for the next partner. And I'm sorry, Robert, what did you just say?
It's a lot of
Because I'm
times
going back to your point that
expectations.
you said.
It's a lot of times expectations that don't even benefit them, benefit the relationship. It's not expectations that complement the person that they are. It's just that they
Right,
think that they want.
right,
Either they have experience with,
right.
yeah.
Right, so they get all these expectations because they've been hurt before in a previous relationship. So now they're bringing on other expectations. It's like they're not meeting those expectations, their own expectations themselves. And I think that's the difference in sexes also, because we men were forced to take accountability. So from that accountability, we can take actions to correct steps, make improvements to not let that happen again. But typically, the other sex does not take accountability, and then they'll just come with higher standards and things like that. It's just like, well, you haven't even worked on yourself. Two, you're bringing baggage into another relationship, and it's unfair for you to put all these expectations on someone who had absolutely nothing to do with your last relationship. So it's just like you're already bringing baggage. You're already bringing, um, if you want to call it toxicity, into this new relationship. So it's already doomed from the beginning.
So you have to think that generally women are told, oh baby, you're okay. Oh, this is fine. Oh, you're hurt, and they're catered to a lot. And so because they've been catered to so much, there is um, an undergirding or underlying and I'm not saying they're narcissistic. It's just an underlying like feeling. I was going to say narcissism that just drives them towards. I gotta have these things because this is what I've always been told I'm supposed to have. Like if I don't get it, then I'm settling. Right when it's not always settling. Sometimes it's just you may not be at that particular level to receive that particular thing.
May I? So it's almost like entrepreneurship. Those that want to be entrepreneurs, they don't necessarily, they fear the failure. But those of us who have been entrepreneurs, we know that failure is part of the process to get to success. So it's just like they put all these expectations in place because it's like I don't want to be hurt again. But at the same time, it's just like all those expectations are what you need to get away from. It's just like you because all those things are serving as buffers or barriers to keep you from being accountable, from you taking accountable for your actions or your part in why the relationship deteriorated. And if it's just blaming the other person, like, no, it was all this person, I did what I was supposed to do, da 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 da. But it's just like, that's not true because if that's the case, this person wouldn't have stepped out on you, this person would have cheated on you. So it's just like, what kind of energy are you exuding to attract that kind of energy? So everybody might like just about facing like, no, that's BS and all that kind of stuff. But it's just like, no, the energy you put out attracts the people. I mean, you attract the type of people, the kind of energy you're giving out. So when you put all those barriers in place, you're keeping yourself from taking that accountability. So just like with entrepreneurship, don't feel failure because failure is part of the process. Don't put expectations and all these unrealistic expectations of because that's going to keep you from holding yourself accountable, from taking accountability in your actions, and then doing that self work, then jumping into the relationship versus going to the relationship with all these ridiculous expectations and then all this baggage. So it's just like you should do that self work first, and then worry about the relationship later.
And you said
second part.
a whole word there, and actually, oh
no, go ahead, Robert.
well, yeah,
let me the next part.
Yeah, you said a whole word in there too, Colin, because and it might be slightly off topic, but April Mason, she actually put out a video, and it was, in my mind, kind of relating to what you just spoke about, where someone, we walk into a relationship, you have these expectations, but you also start looking for things. She was talking about, I already saw the symptoms you were going to cheat, or I already saw the symptoms that he was a cheater, and this, that, and the third. And she's like, why is it that we're always talking about I can peep out a cheater and I can see that my guy was about to cheat on me, but we can never sense why that your man isn't happy with where he's at, that there's something wrong in the relationship. We can't
Or why are you getting with a dude that ain't even happy with himself?
Yeah, it's like we look for the, like, we don't look for the symptoms. We look for whatever the action is after the symptom, and we don't try to prevent the action. We're looking too far ahead versus focusing on the actual relationship. We're looking for the negative to come forth before we're looking at what's actually in the now. Like, if my woman, like, what am I doing to make sure that my woman is happy and satisfied with me, and vice versa, so that she doesn't feel like she has to get whatever love or support she's getting from someone else, and vice versa.
Next clip.
I switched my audio, so this should be better. Is this better? All right, cool.
Expectations. So let's be real about this. It's not that men don't want relationships, and it's not that men don't want to marry, because there are a lot of men who still want that. It's just that they are attentive to what is going on now. That is a huge sacrifice for men to marry. Let's be real about this. They know that they are more than likely potentially sacrificing their freedom. They know that their resources, their ideas, sometimes their beliefs as well. If you look at it, many of them know that, let's just say the marriage does not work. Who's the judge going to favor? Most likely it's going to be the woman, especially if they have kids. So when a man is dating, he's paying attention to everything. You want to be pursued. You want a man to pour into your cup. You want a man to invest in you financially. You want him to invest his time into you, all of his resources, all of that stuff. But what are you investing into him?
A word.
That thing, that part there is so heavy, because when I got married at 22, I never anticipated getting divorced. Never. Right? In fact, I never even wanted to get divorced, so much so that I thought that I would have gotten divorced. I probably could have. Somebody asked me, you know, why didn't you get divorced earlier on if you knew there were problems? I didn't want to get divorced earlier on because I didn't want to lose the things that I had already had and we were building. I bought my first house at 24. Right? I mean, 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath house on, I think it was like 2,300 square feet on like 3/4 of an acre. So at 24, and I didn't want to lose that. And we were building more, and I knew that we were going to just fly high, but I didn't want to lose that. And even now, and it's so funny, I look back at how much I lost from the divorce, from the marriage, and I'm like, I don't want to do that again, which is why I'm very careful as to how I now vet and how I pour into. I give and I pour into the person, but I also look to receive back from the person, because it's important that, as I've said many times before, and I just use my little fruit cups. If I'm pouring and you're pouring, nobody's ever empty. So that's where I'll land on that. Wes, welcome, man. We just get you in the building.
Had him. There he was. There he goes.
There he goes.
Whatever it is, whatever it was, chocolatey, what you gonna call it? What's up, Shahid?
What's going on, y'all? How you doing?
How's it going?
Laid back tonight.
Y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we got you.
What are you? Go ahead, Colin.
I was gonna say I'll speak on this part because I really do appreciate my woman, because she would say things like this like early on in our relationship. So maybe 6-7 months ago. It's just like the gestures, because I tell you about the gestures she's always do. She's very attentive to my needs. So even when I thank her, it's just like, I appreciate it, baby. You didn't have to do that. And she's just like, it's the least I could do. She's just like, out of all you're doing for me, you're going to be providing for the family. You're going out there, fighting this, fighting that. So it's like you're going to work, you're providing for the family, you're keeping us secure, all that kind of stuff. So she's already speaking for the future. But it's like she was already mentioning these things to me. It's just like, that's the least I can do, because you're doing so much, and you're gonna be doing so much for the family in the future. So it's just like that's what encourages her spirit of being attentive and giving. It's more to it than that, but she had these conversations with me, and I was just like taken aback by that. It's just like, for her to understand that, it's just like that's such a thing. Such an easy thing to gloss over and not understand. But for her to be attentive to my needs and to understand that yes, men are going out here wrestling bears, tigers, and things like that. We're going to be the ones that have to sacrifice our life to protect our family. We're going to be jumping in front of that train, in front of a, dog, or whatever whatever the threat is. We're going to be defending with our lives, our family, our woman. So for her to understand that, it just speaks volumes. So I totally resonate with what she said in the video. Period.
Shahid, welcome to the conversation. Were you able to catch that last 1 minute portion that she put in?
Yeah, well, I agree to a certain extent. I don't really have any. I agree. I think this goes back to how men are raised, or boys are raised and conditioned. I don't even know what like pouring into me looks like what, because I'm not necessarily looking to be poured into. So like, if a woman is pouring into me, I don't even know if I would be able to identify it, because we've been so conditioned to like always be the protector, provider, giver. So when you are like, I think we spoke about this about a month back, when you are receiving something, it becomes kind of like uncomfortable. But I don't even know, like, I wouldn't even know how to identify, honestly.
Okay. Next clip, Colin.
Are y'all hearing any white noise from me or static noise?
I don't hear anything.
Shahid, do you hear anything?
Yeah, but it's not. It's
Is it me?
I mean, I can hear noise, but it's not like affecting it.
Okay.
Men are going to pay attention to that. What do you do to fill my cup? If I am filling your cup, what are you doing to fill my cup? I have to invest all of this into you, but society has conditioned you to the belief that you don't have to put anything into me. Let's just be real about this. I'm going to take you up one further, okay? So many of you ladies don't invest enough into yourselves intellectually or spiritually or emotionally to be able to invest into some of these men. Just being real with you, okay? Are you adding to his fruition? Are you supporting him? No, he's already seen that you are not someone he wants to make his wife. He's already seen that. So why would he go and pursue you to be his wife when he can just have you as a situation? And I already know some of you women are going to come in here.
Keep going, or you want to hit on that?
I mean, she kind of just piggybacked on what I was speaking of. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know, man. I don't like to be the guy that like, oh, men don't get poured into, blah blah blah. But I mean, some of the stuff is just some of the things that I could think of women. Like, let's just take sex for example. Sex is not pouring into me. I can pay for if I was that type of guy, I could go pay for sex. I could, you know what I mean? A prostitute could give me sex. That's not pouring into me. I'm not a big gift guy, so I don't know. I mean, honestly, listening to me is pouring into me.
Right. It's the little things. I was just about to say that. Because we don't go looking for these things, but when those little things happen without us even asking or looking for them, it's just like, oh wow, it's just kind of pouring to us.
Yes, if you're taking something off my plate that I could do by myself, right, and you just do it just because, or you have the ability, because that's the kind of thing that I am going to always do. I'm gonna help you. Get your car, clean make sure your car is clean. I'm going to help you, with grocery shopping. I'm going to help you with your children. I'm going to help reduce the load. And I think that's part of the issue that is not happening in relationships. Some people, I won't say all, but some people are not really gelling and just saying, hey, and because we talked about it last week, or maybe it was Tuesday. It was Tuesday when we were on Clubhouse. What's the thing that's keeping people from getting closer together in relationship? And what I think it's a conversation I had early in the week. The woman's been hurt, the man's been hurt, and now they're like, well, who's going to go first and give in, and who's going to be the first to bend? And so some people are just kind of waiting. But when you're always giving, as I said, if you're always giving, even if it's the small things that lead up to bigger things, no one is lacking. And that's a philosophy that I live by. I'm going to pour into the woman that I am dating, and it's going to escalate as time goes on. So that's just my philosophy. I think that you should have a dating philosophy, and I think that might be one of the missing pieces in the dating arena. Some people just don't have a philosophy or a lifestyle or a thought process to live off of.
Yep. Agreed.
Is that Wes coming? Oh, that's Robert. Okay. Next piece.
All right.
Idea, I'm fine with that. But let's be real about it. Men are seeing everything. Some of you women are irrational. Some of you women allow your emotions to dictate your behavior. Also, a lot of you women have allowed society to condition you. And many of you women compare your relationships and your dating experiences to those of your friends. So not only does he have to meet up to your standards, but he also has to meet up to your friends' unrealistic standards or unrealistic expectations as well, because you tend to place those on the men you date. Come on now. Do some.
Welcome back, Rob.
He's, I think he's pixelated.
I told him, man, he got to get off that dial-up, man. He's still on AOL. Rob, you with us full time? Rob is only with us part time. Do you think, Colin? And I mean, I know your experience is completely different. Do you?
Am I pixelated now? Did I move from one problem to another?
Yeah, pretty much. We got to get off that cricket network. Between him and Wes, I don't know what's going on with their connection. But
you know what it is? They're both Aries,
right?
And they're the only ones that have that issue. So Shahid's connection is great. Shahid is a Pisces, right? See, Colin, you're a, I forget when your birthday is. Cancer. I'm a Capricorn. So water sign, earth signs, we're good. Just for the zodiac cosmos. That's just an inside joke amongst us. We just don't take it personally. So I agree that sometimes women are more driven by their emotions than men. And that's because they are the emotional creatures, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that they have to stay there, because some women have learned to develop their core values and make decisions off their values and not just their emotions. Some haven't, and that's just a fact of life. But men too make emotional decisions. Like it said here, I think it just popped up on the screen. Will Smith made a very emotional decision. There are men who make emotional decisions when they're in an argument with another man. And, even, little boys now, instead of, resolving with words, they go to, fisticuff type actions. And I think that we need to corral our emotions, all of us, and not just one-sided. But to this video, I know for a fact, and it's been my experience, that some women respond more emotionally than they do what I won't say logically, but without emotion.
And Carl said both men and women are emotional creatures.
I agree with that. I mean, I think as a man, I know I have emotions, right? I know like I was telling my son earlier. We were going in the store and we were getting some socks. I was asking me, y'all need some more socks? And then I said, oh, my son is being sensitive. And he was like, oh, you talking about me? I said, no, it's okay to be sensitive, right? You just have to learn how to channel your sensitivity, right? So there's so many times that as a parent, you don't tell your child it's okay to allow themselves to have emotions. Robbie, you full time, man. You moving like you on a high speed network over there. Like
perfect, man. I had to get the ugly headset and everything. So
yeah, I need you to do that
some
every
cold
week.
Calls.
Yeah, come in on your laptop, and every week, whatever you're doing now, plug in with an Ethernet cable.
It's the same story every week with Wes, though.
Yeah, I think Wes just
Wes in the boonies.
Something.
Go ahead, Robert.
Nah, I kind of forgot what her last point was about.
We can replay it for you.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Do we have to?
He rocking and everything. Look at him.
Rocking, rolling, rock.
To dictate your
thing
behavior.
Is dense, though. Like, people do.
Also,
need to
a lot
go
of you
back
women
and
have
listen
allowed
to this and
society
really
to
think on
condition.
this, like this with valid points.
Yeah. And I hope People are listening. Wink, wink. Hint, hint.
You and many of you women compare your relationships and your dating experiences to those of your friends. So not only does he have to meet up to your standards, but he also has to meet up to your friends' unrealistic standards or unrealistic expectations as well, because you tend to place those on the men you date. Come on now, do some self-reflection to see maybe you're the problem.
Hold on, look at here, look at here, look at this comment here.
I'm gonna say I think some of that's cap, but I don't know her. She said it before.
She
But
going
I
for
think
cool points?
Lakeisha,
You think she just going for cool points?
yeah, what I mean, she doing it for the gram. She doing it for the vibe. No, I mean, she's actually said something like this similar, in weeks past, and so I'm tending to actually believe that if that's going to be your dominant thought, then sooner or later that's going to be how you're going to live. I agree, Lakeisha. You don't have to necessarily always feed me, right? Because I'm not always hungry. I might eat like two meals a day, right? Because I do intermittent fasting. But listening to me is quite important, because I want you to be heard. And if I have something to say, I want you to give me the same respect that I'm giving you. Head on a regular basis should be at least 3 times a morning, 2 to 3 times a week. Just wake me up to it. Like, just wake me up to it. What'd you say, Rob?
Oh no, it's a prerequisite. Like it's
Yeah, just twice a week. I'm good. You know what I mean? Just like, what I'm saying, work that out.
Here we go. Equal accountability.
There's nothing wrong with both sexes being accountable, though.
Silence. The topic here is unrealistic expectations. The reason the most unrealistic expectations are dominant in one area of the species or gender is because there's a lack of accountability, which is what we talked about earlier. So I ain't trying to hear no equal accountability. We're talking about before they even get into a relationship, because y'all are coming into relationships with unrealistic expectations on the next partner when he hasn't even done nothing. So it all comes down to properly vetting, and then it all comes down to accountability. So before we get to the equal accountability, we're talking about unrealistic expectations. And those unrealistic expectations come from lack of accountability. All this is just serving as a buffer to not be accountable. It's just, I don't want to be hurt again, all that kind of stuff. But it's just like, what did you improve? Where were you wrong in the last relationship? What do you mean? I didn't do anything. And he did this, he did this, he did this. Okay. That's a lack of accountability, which is making you put in all these expectations for the next partner. He has to do this, he has to do this, he has to do this. But what have you done?
So let me say this, because we're getting heavy comments here. If you want to join the show, you don't have to have your camera on, just for the record. But if you want to join the dialogue, right in the comments is a link. You'll see it. It says Nightbot, right? Go live with the fellas right now and ask a question or call in. You want to click on call.aabma.live. It's literally right there, over there.
We don't bite.
Over there above Colin. And you can join the conversation. You are welcome. You do have to show the producer your face in the background, and we expect that, but you do not have to stay live. If you think that as a woman, if you're in the comments and you have and you hold yourself accountable, your circle is the type of women that are accountable, come and share that with us, right? We openly embrace that conversation, and we wanted to make sure you have a voice, because while it is Ask a Black Man Anything, you literally can come and share with us. We have the open space for you.
Or you can call our hotline at 1-800-ASK-A-BLACK-MAN-ANYTHING, and Robert will take your call. As you see, he has his headset on, ready to take your phone call.
Callers are saying, what is it? What is it? What does it say there? What's it? Operators are standing by. That's it.
Operators on.
Yeah.
Hold on, let's check in with Robert right now. Robert, are we getting any calls?
The phone is ringing off the hook, fellas. We have about 13 callers in line. No, but that point about not only having your own expectations, but then meeting your friends' expectations, that's a big thing, especially when it comes to what a man does for a living, when it comes to his career. If say your dude is a trash man. Trash men make okay money. Some of them do, but he goes
That's
to
actually
work every day.
true.
He does his thing. Comes home and you don't like you feel embarrassed that he picks up trash for a living. He may actually feel insecure about it. He may actually not like it as well. But it definitely doesn't help that your insecurity with that feeds into his. Like we are afraid to introduce our friends to more often than not, women are afraid to introduce their men to their friends if their man doesn't have a job that fits what they believe their profile is. You know what I mean? Like if they believe that they're supposed to have it's like a status thing. My man has a certain job title that has stature, and if it doesn't match what you believe your friends are gonna like, half the time you will basically dish your man. Um, in order to not introduce him. He'll just be somebody in the background. You know, he'll be your thing. You might like him, you might love him, but you're embarrassed by what it is that he does.
Earlier, Rob, you said you had a shared experience. You want to share that experience?
I mean, it's um a while back I was dating somebody, and we really hit it off. Like I really built a very fond of love for this person. Um, but at the time there were certain things about what it was that she does for a living and what it was that I did for a living. I didn't have certain things lined up to meet what it was that she was looking for, and it wasn't anything that was detrimental to a relationship in my opinion. The relationship would have been fine and great. However, um, because and I would say it's probably the friendship thing, because of the expectations of what she could present to her friends, it ended up fizzling out. It was like, as an entrepreneur, as a person, I didn't have a business that I was sticking to at the time. It was just, I had an ideal, I would throw the ideal out, I might go with it, I might not go with it. I have another ideal, I throw it out, I might go with it, I might not go with it. And that fed some sort of insecurity that was within her. But at the same time, it wasn't like I didn't have my things together enough to where I was self-sufficient, where I had an abundance. I never showed any lack. I didn't have any lack. But that, I guess, inconsistency with the job, with the business, it showed up where she didn't feel like she can go tell her friends, "Hey, my guy does this," and feel comfortable and feel confident with that. And that led into her believing that I was basically in like an unsecure place to land. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't be able to support her through life's ups and downs, even though that wasn't what it showed. It just showed that I had ideals that I thought about, but all the while I'm making sure that my money's up, because that's just what I
Wouldn't
do.
that be outside influence?
Outside influence, that's that friendship. Really, that's that friendship. You can't tell me that I'm 100% of the things that you've asked for in a man and then some, and then tell me that the outside influences are the reason why our relationship cannot go any further.
Chris, you can speak to this. Is
And
that
on
one?
top,
Isn't that one of the things that deteriorates relationships? I'm sorry, Robert. Go ahead.
and one more thing to it is what it was that I wanted from her, that I saw her fitting into my life with, that would have built me up. She actually does for a living. You know what I mean? Like she's certified and all this. She does it for a living, and I'm like, this is, if you're looking for a way to help and support me, it's exactly what you have a certificate in. It's perfectly made for who I am and what it is that I need. But that couldn't be given to me because of the insecurity that came with the outside influences. That, and I would say, and partly the nature of what she does for a living anyway, what she's trying to accomplish.
So Robert, you said that, and I want to just kind of dive real quick here. You said that you weren't, you were all, you had an idea. Was she the type of woman that was a career woman? Like she only focused on, maybe she always wanted to be a teacher And so
Yeah,
she
she definitely, she like her first, she's always followed her dreams first off, which is already a beautiful thing, but she ended up landing a ideal job for what her dream was, and she stayed in that job for a full 20 years, and after that she decided to transfer into something different. um, the nature of what it is that she does, it's like entrepreneurship basically. You can have a bunch of highs and you can have a bunch of lows. You don't really know which way it's coming. So though
just say she's a day trader, Rob.
it would be, you know what, I would say it's almost the equivalent of it, but she can't really take a loss. You just end up not making no money for a while, and that could definitely hurt. But at the same time, it's
She a
I
real estate agent. She ain't
I
selling them
get
houses.
that. You can go with that actually. That's a more accurate comparison. But it wasn't any sign that I lacked anything financially. It was just the an entrepreneur,
The
like my mind
respectability
goes from
factor.
one business to the next business, and sometimes I would jump in it, sometimes I would just talk about it, but it was like every time I spoke about it, it was as if something I was supposed to do. And I talk it out, and then I start seeing if it's something that's seeing if it's an ideal that I can run with, that I actually believe is going to be good for me and that I want to do. I told myself, but in 2019 or 2018, that I would never start another business inside of something that I didn't want to do. The first business I had, I hated it, but I knew how to do it. I knew how to make money, so I did it.
Yeah, what I found a lot of times, and I'll kind of segue here. What I found a lot of times is that when you have a person that is entrepreneurial minded, like yourself and some of the other fellas here, um, um, being with a career person typically could put you in a bad way if you're always talking about idea, because their thought is, well, you can't ever do one thing, you can't ever stick with one thing. And so sometimes they need somebody to kind of, a mentor to, if it's a man, right? If it's one of us, that woman needs a man or needs a mentor or somebody to kind of say, hey, listen, you know, he may have 1,000 ideas, but he's going to execute, right? And some of the dreams he may do well, some of them he may not do well. He's going to execute. And I think one of the things that is good specifically for relationships is if that person actually looks more at your character than your actual actions. So that's where I'll land on that. All right, Colin, let's jump to that last part, and then we have two questions that were emailed to us. We want to jump to that.
That was it as far as the video.
Oh, sweet. Any last comments on it before we jump to the questions that were emailed to us?
Anyone want to come on camera and ask us a question? If you die. Just kidding. It's all friendly. But if you have a question, just click on the link and yeah, I will let y'all on screen to come ask us a question. But yeah, we can go into the questions.
Perfect. And I'm gonna start with question one and hope because the question two is a little bit geared towards those that have been married already. Question one is, um, and I'm gonna guess this is a man asking the question. I don't have any. It came from a ghost email. So it says, "What do women leave at a man's house to mark their territory, and why? Why do women leave things to mark their territory?" Oh, that's hilarious. Rob, you got the Cheshire Cat smile, man. What has a woman left at your house to mark her
Trophies.
territory?
Trophies. Everything. Undergarments, little scrungy things, combs, maybe like a bracelet or a watch, necklaces, shirts, those type of things. They always get left, or they have been left, I should say.
Okay, Shaheed, what has a woman left at your house to mark her territory?
Uh,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. They don't really in the past. I'm talking about the past, but
Yeah,
It
Pastor.
is what it is. Leave what you want. I don't care. Like I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, but I've had a woman leave her watch in my shower. Um, that was an interesting one to me because it was she took it off so she wouldn't get it wet, but she left it on the shower rack in the shower. So it was like that don't
Yeah, that
make
don't
no,
make no sense.
yeah, but yeah, this is the typical stuff, just basic items. I've had a bit of everything, jewelry. It's a lot, man. I'll leave it
So
at that.
soaps and damn
Listen,
loofahs and
listen,
stuff.
listen. True story. True story. Um, I had a woman leave her soap. Now, my soap. I have two soap. It goes. I got body wash and I got my regular soap, right? Dove soap I use. And I had a woman leave her soap container with her soap in it, and I'll go to take a shower, and I'm just on autopilot, right? And then she calls me, later on that day or a day or two later, and she says, "Well, why didn't you tell me that I left my soap?" Now my soap container is blue. Her soap container was blue, and I'm just like, "What?" I go look in the shower, and I'm like, "Now I'm glad that I didn't have, I wasn't on that type of, let me bring another woman over, right afterwards." But I've had, and this is one you gotta be real careful. Earring backs. I've had women leave their hair in my, like, they'll, like, if they got braids, right? They'll, they won't like put the bonnet on or whatever. Um, I'm telling them, earring backs, you got to be careful because they will leave them everywhere, and you might step on one and be like, "Oh, oh," you know. Um,
You said there
I've
was a
had
braid
like
under the pillow.
man, listen, I don't give me the flashback because I'm talking about I've had like they got the colored hair, and so I go to wash my sheets, and I'm like, and the hair keep going. I'm like, man, y'all tripping, right? I've had the hoop earrings left, and here's what's really crazy. Another quick story. I had a lady leave. She was a young lady I was interested in. We weren't really dating. She came by, and so we watched the movie. This was this 22. This was like 2017. She left the earring, and on the couch, and it fell in the cushion. So a couple days later, another young lady comes over that I had a situationship with. Um, and she sits on the couch in the same spot. Now, what is the coincidence that the earring happened to poke her in the tail? And boy, when I tell you she was 38 hot, she ran up out of here. I was like, look, I mean, it is what it is. Now, mind you, she ended up
Shoot,
coming back, but she got mad at that moment. So
I,
yeah,
I think one of the classic ones for me was somebody left their kid to mark their territory, and the
wow.
kid left their stuff.
I'm
So now
sorry.
there's
Come
kid
again.
stuff in there. It ain't my kid stuff. Yeah, yeah. Just left the
Left,
kid there.
left the whole kid.
The whole
So
kid
here's the
and the kid
last
stuff.
part that I've had people. So a woman leave 2018. I'll never forget this because it still doesn't really register in my mind. When you come in the house, you come in the front door, right? Um, I make you take your shoes off when you come, to the door. She left her shoes at the door, right? Spends the night, and then she leaves to go to work that next morning. She got to go back out the front door. Now, how she drive right by them shoes and miss them, and I mean had everything else. I'm like, so I call, hey, you left your shoes. Oh, I'll be back to get them. No, 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 no. We're not doing that. Let me go on and put these in the closet real quick. We're not doing that. Yeah, like shoes at the door. You walking right past them and then you leave them. Yeah, and she had
What would
another
you
pair of shoes. That's what was just crazy to me. What's that,
what would you
Rob?
guys be what would you guys be okay with a woman leaving at your house?
The Bible.
Um, what am I okay with her leaving at my house? Nothing. Like, take all your stuff. Like, This, I've not lived with a woman since I was married. I probably won't live with another woman until I'm in a committed relationship headed towards marriage. Um, so, yeah, don't leave nothing because it's all yours. This is my space. You know,
Don't leave nothing, won't be nothing.
Yeah, especially while I'm just dating and I'm not in a relationship. Don't leave nothing because you're gonna be in your feelings if you find something from somebody else. That's just the truth. Some women don't like to know that you're dating, multi-dating, but they know that you're doing it. I mean, if I'm on a dating app, I'm gonna swipe right on more than just you. So I'm gonna be talking to more than one person. It doesn't mean that I'm having sex with multiple people, but the likelihood of somebody, coming to my house is high. So that I don't understand that why women do it. I need matter of fact. I need is Carla in the comments?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Carla, come up here and tell us why y'all women be leaving stuff or
Chris,
Lakeisha.
when's the last time Carla ever come
Never.
on camera?
That's why I'm asking her to do it now. She ain't got to come on camera. We know who she is.
We know she's the most scared person in the audience. We've been on the show for almost a year now. She's come up with every excuse in the world not to come up.
Man, listen, that's
It's not gonna happen.
That is the absolute truth. She has literally never came on camera, and I think
No,
Carla has
I don't
never.
think you've been on camera, Carla. You've been up
Yeah,
on
you've never
Clubhouse.
been on.
Yeah,
You've
you've
never
been
been
on the Clubhouse stage. You've never been on camera. Yeah, never been on camera.
Proceeds to say lies as she lies.
Yeah.
Look, the best thing women can leave at a house, and pretty much the best and only thing a woman could leave at a man's house, especially early on, is an impression. Like, leave an impression. That's it.
All right, Chris. So, Chris, if you make a promise to Carla, she'll come on stage.
Carla,
She says she
I
never
will
come on
be.
stage because Chris is rude to you. So just promise her you
I
won't
am
be
not
rude
rude
to
to
her.
her. I am not
But
rude to her.
that's not the same as promising her you won't be rude to her.
Carla, I apologize. I publicly apologize for being rude to you. I
And
will
you
treat you
promise.
like the queen that you are. I apologize.
I ain't say all that.
I will be kind to you. I'll never be rude to you
All
again.
right, Carla. Cam up. Hit that link, and we'll bring you on.
Is there a caller coming in?
No.
Carla.
I'm a man of my word. That's one thing. I am. Colin, I see you skipped out on this one. what is a woman left at your house?
I am very well media trained.
No, we're not doing that. What is a woman left at your house?
The Bible. Outside of that, I plead the fifth.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5th.
Fifth. 1, 2, 3.
Sure. And to our second question, I kind of wish that both the other guys, Daryl, Shan, and
Jerron.
no, Wes, were here because they were also married. So, Wes, if you can cam up, please do.
I mean,
This question.
Wes is here. Just his network isn't.
Yeah. I see.
So see, for me though, like when I was, really out there in the streets and I was a young bachelor, I used to have things for women already. I used to already have things provided for women at my crib. So it was, you know what I mean?
So like you had like a
He's like,
extra
don't bring nothing. He's got his
toothbrush.
box.
Nah,
Quagmire over there.
like just things that women need. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you never know. Like, you might go out to a movie. She don't plan on coming over. She come over. You know what I mean? And she need.
You got a bonnet.
Yeah, like, just gotta have stuff to, for women to make a woman comfortable.
You
So is
know,
that what you consider that as thoughtfulness, or would that be just like, yeah, this, he got it together to where to where he already got everything you need, and it's kind of
Yeah,
like that's a player move, boy.
I learned that at a young age.
so
It's
here's
a
what's
good
really
one.
crazy, Shahi. My high school sister said the exact same thing to me. She was like, have a what is that? What is it? Shower cap. Have a shower cap. Have an extra toothbrush. Have a bonnet for them ready. Have a if you got a silk pillow, have a silk pillow. Have a maybe a robe or something that a t-shirt or something they can sleep in. And I was just like, why? And this was I just got divorced and I'm like, man, I'm not doing all of that. And when I started to do it, I saw how much it was appreciated, right? How the little things added up to seeing how thoughtful I was. Now, of course, I was doing it because I was like, trying to be a player. You know what I mean? Look, you left your bonnet. It's cool. I got one. But now it's become more of an adopted thing. So I agree with you. I don't have that stuff anymore because you know, I ain't really even thought about it, but you bringing it back up definitely reminds me of something that was already told.
That that's slick, but it's like, I don't know if I feel comfortable if I went to a lady's house and I walk in and she's like, "Yeah, I got this shirt for you, just in case you was coming through or whatever." I got these
It's
shoes
not the
for you,
same,
these house
Robert. It's not the
shoes.
same. Not. It's not the same, Rob. It's not the
They
same.
got
If
a
she,
damn
let's say,
got these house
if
shoes.
she
They got
got
a
a fresh
footprint in them
pack of
already.
wife beaters, you know what I mean, and you know what I mean. But I mean, it's not the same. Like women need extra shit. You feel me? They need a bonnet. You know what I mean? They need if they go or a silk pillow. They need a what's that shower cap thing? They need different stuff. So um
I think Carter's comment is accurate, boy. He was doing his thing, man. I wish I would have been that smart, boy.
Hold on. What did Shahid say again?
Just I used to just have things like at hand for women that if they stayed the night, so it wasn't like they would be able to be comfortable, like you know what I mean. They could stay the night. You know what I mean?
Got you. Um, Carla, we are still waiting for you. We haven't forgotten. So we're still waiting for you to come up. Do you want me to boot Chris off for like 3 minutes while you come on, and then you say what you got to say, and then I bring him back on? Is that what it is, Carla? Because like she literally makes up every single excuse. Like this has nothing to do with Chris. Would you like me to boot him off, Carla, while you come in? While you come on?
that's hilarious.
Anywho, second question.
Second question, and hopefully again, Wes, if you can chime in, even if you're remote. I know Daryl's not able to. Second questions right here. Um, was the first year of your marriage the hardest? And Rob, this is to you, too, or the last before your divorce? So, what year was harder, your first year or the last year before you eventually divorced?
Yeah, not for me. The first year was the easy year. The first few years were the easier years because that's when you're initially married. That's when everything is somewhat new, somewhat fresh. Even if you've been with a person for a while, you guys have new parameters that are there and that can be explored. Um, the last part, whenever you're going through everything, that to me is when it's really rough. That to me is when that's when you have the arguments. That's when you have the thoughts of not being inside of the marriage, which makes you less likely to do things to build the marriage up. The ending part is the part that I think is definitely the toughest. And I think whenever that comes, a lot of people, there's some research out there that's like after 7 years we pretty much change. I think that after 7 years, the lust factor is gone, but also we tend to not continue learning our partner. We think that our partner is supposed to stay the same throughout the rest of our lives, when in fact we are going to change, they are going to change, and some of the fun that should be there, especially at that point where it starts to get tough, is continuing to learn one another. And I think that that's where we fail at, and we end up hitting that ending point, and it becomes really hard.
Okay, Wes,
Yo,
which year was harder, the first year of marriage or the last one before you got divorced?
I'm the wrong person to ask because the first year was the last one. Um, both of them, both my marriages. The first one, I think we were married only 8 months before we separated, and so we made the year mark there. And then my second marriage, and I had only known her for a small period of time before we got married. Yeah, it was that. But my second marriage, where I, fell in love and the whole nine, um, that was we just made it past a year, but the relationship was like an 8-year relationship overall. But we were only married for a year and a half, roughly, or whatever. We eventually made the 2-year mark, but that's usually because there's like, at least back where I'm from, there's like 6 months that you have to be separated before you can officially get them up. So yeah, I'm the wrong guy. I the it's always, in my opinion anyway, it's always sweeter and easier in the beginning because you great chance that you're still discovering and learning one another. Um, so in my mind, that would always be part of a marriage or of a divorce even.
Uh, what was harder, the first year or the last year? Um, for me, ironically, it was the first year, because we got married in June of 2002, and she was already 6 months pregnant. So we had our first child um, October 2002. By January of 2003, and we're not even, a year into being married. We're literally 6 months into being married. She's pregnant again. Um, and so um, within our first year, um, I had lost my job before we got married. So there was definitely a large struggle um, in the very beginning that started to ease. I was 22. I was young. I was brash. I was arrogant. I was cocky. I wouldn't listen. I thought that, the world revolved around me and my wife should submit, which meant that I lord over her. And it took me a long while to realize that, that's just not the case. Um, the last year of marriage, um, 2016 to 17, was easy because we were separated for a year. Um, I hated how we treated each other, because I'm not going to say I treated her perfectly. I was nowhere near an angel. I had I don't give a fuck attitude for real for 12 months. I want to be done with you, and I know that wasn't right, but I was still I won't say but I was still processing, my own hurts. So the last year of marriage, I was like, yo, I'm in a good space. I'm moving on. I can finally, deal with somebody new that ain't gonna yell and scream and do this, that, and third. So yeah, my first year, um, you know, I met my ex-wife on a campus of Spelman, and the first day I met her, I told her I was gonna marry her. And then a year and a half, almost 2 years later, I did. She happened to get pregnant during that time. That was never the plan. Um, but it happened, and then she got pregnant again. And add on to that, she ended up having to get a full time job, going to grad school, and we had two children, and we were buying a house, all in the first 2 years of our marriage. So, yeah, my first year was hell, and I wouldn't wish that on anybody. Even to the point where I said, when things were getting bad, and around 12 years ago, this was 2000, maybe 10, and we have been 7, 8 years in. I said that if I ever got divorced, um, I would wait 2 years before I considered having a child with a new wife, because I didn't want that, that same angst that I had when I was married, and we had just got married. Now we're being husband and wife and mother and father in the same year. And people don't tell you, that's not a lesson that people readily tell you. They don't share that particular information. At least they didn't 20 years ago. 20 years ago. Yeah, my actual 20-year anniversary is coming up. So, um, first year was definitely harder than any of the other ones. Definitely. And if anybody else is married, in the comments, comment, what your marriage was like in its first year. Which was harder for you? Was it harder for you? Your first year, was the last year, if you're now divorced, if you're going through a divorce, what is that like for you? Um, and don't spill your whole beans in the comments, right? But obviously be protected and stuff like that. So um,
That is interesting because like your story, like with the being married and having a kid in the same year, that's what we did. My son came out. We ended up getting married shortly after that. We were already going to be getting married anyway, um, but it still ended up being the best time. So I think it really has to do with where you're at when you get started, Chris. I believe you said you were a little bit young as far as your understanding, and for me, I
not a
was.
little bit. I was 22. I was young and stupid.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I was young and stupid
Like,
too, but I was young and stupid and I was unaware of certain things. And I think that me being unaware of certain things
yes.
helped me not be as dumb early with my youngness because I didn't um, view myself the way that I do now back then. I was confident and everything like that, but I didn't understand the pull that I had on other people, let alone the pull that I had on women. I started to realize that at 23, and surprisingly enough, that's when I started having issues in the marriage. Um, but we walked in, and everything was fantastic at first. Everything was great. Neither one of us had any complaints. We didn't argue anything for like the first 3 years. Once we got to the point to where we were, when shit was hitting the fan, that's when all of a sudden we started having arguments. That's when all of a sudden things started looking real bad for us. So it's interesting that similar scenarios can just come out with way different things. I think it's a lack of premarital knowledge. And if anybody's considering getting married, I barely heard of the term like 2 years ago or maybe last year. Go to premarital counseling. It's not just for counsel. Marriage counseling isn't just for whenever you're going through it in your marriage. You can go to counseling throughout your marriage, let alone you should go before you go. That way you have an idea of what you're walking into.
So, outside of marriage counseling, I want to kind of table there. Outside of marriage counseling, what else would you recommend prior to getting married? Two tips. Two more tips.
For me, um, making sure you're willing to adjust and work with someone because once you guys come together under that one household, you guys are going to find out some things about one another you just didn't know.
Hmm.
You don't know how clean that other person is. You don't know how clean that other person keeps themselves on the daily basis. There's some people that, both men and women, who will not shower for a certain period of time. There's certain people, and this is one of my pet peeves, so I'm gonna put it out there. It's bad for me Whenever I go to, you know how women have this thing where they want the toilet seat down, right? Cool, I respect that. I always put the toilet seat down. My grandma taught me well with that. But one thing that I noticed
That's an
is
unrealistic
whenever I pick
expectation. You have hands. Put the damn seat up.
one
Down the
thing that
seat.
one thing that I noticed is whenever I lift it up, sometimes the remnants of they pad or they tampon be on the freaking lid of the seat, and I'm like,
Thanks.
yo,
Thank you, Robert. Thank you. Thank you.
like that is not cool. Like that is not a good look, yo. But yeah, the I had a
Yes.
second point, but that flashback, um, yeah,
Did
changed
the
me.
altitude make you forget?
It was the altitude. What it was is a
The
little bit of
altitude at which we're
turbulence,
flying?
a little bit of,
Exactly.
and that might have been what it was. Maybe there was turbulence in the house, and that's what caused that stain to be on the seat. So,
Oh my God.
Hey, listen. I don't think ever I will ever do two things. I will never argue about putting the toilet seat down, and I won't even think about it. You have hands, put the seat down. Just like I got hands to put the seat up. And if that's a point of contention for you, ask yourself, why are you so upset over something you can do on your own? I'm just not arguing about it. I'm just not. So,
You see
let that one go.
Shan's comment.
Yeah, send over there, Wallet. Wes, 3 tips that you would give somebody before they get married.
Yeah, me now. Okay.
yeah.
Do not
Pass go.
do it. Is do it like one or two words? No.
That's 2 words.
You said 3 tips I would give them.
Yes.
Yep.
We already know what one tip. We already know what one tip is. So give us your 2 appropriate tips.
Okay, got it. 2 appropriate tips after the first. So I would
Wes said
say
not just a tip.
right. Sometimes just the tip is all you need. It's just enough. Okay, there. Focus. No. So I would say first and foremost, talk to each other. And I know that sounds broad, but I think a lot of the conversations that, and hopefully people are able to have healthier conversations just because of, things like what we're sharing here, whether it's podcasts like here or groups like ours on Clubhouse or other groups where people are now normalizing the difficult conversations, normalizing the conversations around money and sex, and not just when everything is good, but how do we adapt to when money isn't there? What are your individual expectations? When sex isn't there or isn't on point, what are your individual expectations? Having those conversations with one another. There's too much information now. There's just too much conversation happening now for anyone getting married today to not know, to not have all the questions that they should be asking themselves and their partner. Number 2 is talk to somebody else. First, talk to each other, and then talk to someone else, and not just your pastor, not just marriage counseling with your pastor, because that's cool. But there's a lot that the church still hasn't dealt with when it comes to love, relationships, sex, and finances. I think that might be skipped over and could be detrimental to you. So I think it's important to, just like you're going to invest in your wedding day or wedding ring, it's important to invest in having a conversation with a third party who is licensed, and who is completely objective. I'll tell you a story. My first wife, she set up a she was insisting upon us having marriage counseling, and so I was like, okay, cool. And and we did it twice. We had marriage counseling with my pastor, which was the church that she then kind of belonged to, if you could say that. We did do that, but then she set up marriage counseling with someone who was supposed to be an objective third party, and I never forget. And we had conversation. I was like, "So you don't know her? You never had conversation with her? No, blah blah blah. I just set this up." And I never forget walking in, and the woman said to her something along the lines of, I can't remember verbatim, but, "Oh, it's good to see you again. Been a long time." Something like that. And I was completely caught off guard, and I was like, "Okay, I've been set up." She lied. So yeah, I think you need to find someone who is an objective third party, not someone who is. If either one of you are referencing that person and bringing that person to the table, I say it's a no go. Anyway, I'm ended there. Talk to one another. Talk to someone else.
Okay. I'll give my tips. I learned in college that you can only master 2 of 3 things: social life, sleep, and studying. And similar to relationships, you can only master 2 of 3 things: money, sex, and communication. Figure out which 2 of the 3 you can master, because you can only master 2 of 3. Be good at the other one. So you can master sex, right? Master money, but be good at communication. You can master communication, master sex, and be good at money. For me, I want my relationships to master communication, because we could be good at sex, right? We master. I mean, we could be good at, and I'm not saying mediocre, right? Right. Not saying just run of the mill, but right. And as far as mastery, right? Master communication and master sex. Be good at money. That's just for me. So next,
Yo, Chris.
Yeah.
Yo, Chris, I have a question, man. So wait, so give that to me again. So you can only be good. You can only master 2.
Yeah, you can. So I was told you can only master 2 of 3, and I'm not saying this as like it's absolute. I'm just saying this is what somebody said. So to focus on what you can do excellently well, right? You can't master every single thing, is what I guess what the principle was, right? So like if you're in college, this is what they were saying. You're in college, you're either going to have a social life and you're going to sleep, but you're not going to study, or you're going to study and you're going to sleep, but you're not going to have a social life. So they further on went on, as I got older, a mentor said, well, you're going to be able to have 3 things that you can that determine a good relationship: sex, money, and communication, and master 2 of 3.
Yeah, I would just have to say I think you can absolutely, my perspective, master all 3 with your partner. Like,
well,
once
here's
you,
the thing. I'm not saying that you can't. I'm just saying, as a tip, right? Try to master what you can, right? Try to master what you can. I mean, hell, if
right.
you think you can master all 3, go for it, right? That's the tip that was given to me. Focus on what you can master well, right? If you can master all 3, go for it, right? By all means, right? I don't say limit yourself, but master. Communication should be number 1, right? Master that. You should handle your finances way before you get to marriage. That's a
Yeah.
That's a whole other thing.
Right.
See how that person lives, without you just planned visits. Without planned visits.
I think
See,
Colin got something to say. He doing something.
So,
you all right,
so peek
Colin?
through their windows. I'm trying to.
No, I mean there should
No,
be
it's just like
unplanned
this.
visits.
No, this is just going too long. And this, what I was commenting was we posed this question 3 episodes ago.
What, the tips before marriage?
No, if you could, the things you could
master all
master.
3.
Oh no, I'm not. So I'm not. That's not the question that we're answering. We're answering the question of what are the couple of tips that you would give to a person before you get married.
But then we got into the mastering
Right,
your
which is why I
food.
wasn't trying to plateau there at all. So that's one tip. Two, don't get married before 27. Don't get
You
married
said
before
what?
27. Don't get married before 27.
For who?
Yeah, I
For
don't
what?
believe that that's a
For
good one.
who?
I disagree.
You said
For
for who?
guys or women? Men or
Either
for
one.
who?
Either one.
Why?
Don't get married. I'll say don't get married before 25 to 27. Don't.
Why, Chris?
So
Because then
because
because then you have people out here talking about the danger zone and all that kind of stuff. So it's like when you
well,
say women don't marry before you're 27, there's just like they're already
I mean, it is what
going
it
past
is.
their
So
prime.
now they
So
got
Okay,
if
28 through
they're
30
so if
to
they're
get
having
married.
kids, so if they're having kids before
so
that,
let's
then
let's
you're
let's say
encouraging.
men, right?
Excuse me. So if you're saying have kids before that, then you're encouraging wedlock. So that's why I'm trying to get clarification on what the hell you're saying.
Well, it's actually finishing that statement. Um, that is a tip that I would give to both men and women, but because I don't really care about the whole age or whatever bracket you fall in. That I don't even listen to that. I know you're gonna have kids when you're gonna have kids, but I wouldn't say do it before 25 to 27 because you haven't lived enough at 18, at 19, at 22, at 23. Um, that if you're getting married at that young of an age, you haven't lived enough and managed your own finances enough. In my opinion, if you like graduate from high school and then go to college, you haven't lived enough to experience your own life. So that's just what I would say.
Chris, wouldn't that put so if you're saying don't get married before 27, what I mean, I've never been married, but if I was married and if just advice that I think would be fruitful to people, I would suggest you not have kids within the first year or two of marriage. So
Yes,
I don't know if you
absolutely.
subscribe to that, but that will put you at 29, 30 having children. That don't really
Which is why that's
sound.
bad advice.
That's why I said 25 to 27.
That's still like.
That's still too late.
I mean,
I mean, yeah, to each his
Well,
own.
even if it's not too late, there's certain people that have already matured enough and have lived their life enough and have been taught finances, and it's like, don't get married. I don't understand. And then on top of that, the beauty of having experiences with someone is having shared experience, having experiences in life is having shared experiences where you can talk to somebody and you can recall them and you have them there with you versus memories that you have by yourself. It's beautiful to be able to tell people, I've been here, I've done this, I've done that. But to me, having those shared experiences together is another thing. It's another hook that brings the relationship together. I can't, I would say, what, use caution because you may not know yourself if you're 21, 22. By the time you're 25, 27, hopefully your parents have taught you enough and you've learned enough to where you can navigate. And
Go
then
ahead, Shahid.
like
Oh, wait,
so let
Shahid.
me ask you a question,
Wait,
Shahi. You
Chris.
just turned
Chris.
34 and you're not
Chris.
married yet. So
Chris.
do you
Yeah,
plan on having
Chris.
kids?
but
Shahid didn't finish his point.
that's
Damn.
my point. Like, because when you get, once I got to like 27-ish, 28-ish, it kind of was like, I mean, it is what it is. If I do, I do. If I don't, I don't. So I mean, if you're a person that wants to be, I'm not married. I've never been married. I'm 34, just turned 34. I don't have any children. I would suggest.
Sounds like an advertisement to me, but continue.
I would suggest 24, 26 range where you need to start. That for me, that sounds like that.
That's 1 year off.
But that's critical though. Like that 1 year, you know what I mean? Either way is extremely critical. Like I think 20, excuse me, I think 23 is a tad bit young. But once you go in that 24, 25 range, you can start, you know what I mean? But 27 just is like, you're going to get to a point where it's like, I'm 30. You know what I mean? It ain't happened. And, I don't know. That for me, since I'm the closest to that age, I wouldn't give that advice.
Hey, Shahid.
What's up?
Tell us again about how you're not married, no kids, and you ride a horse. Tell us again.
I'm not married, no kids, 2 horses, but I am in a relationship, so that ain't, you know,
So
that's
he is somewhat qualified to speak on this, Wes. So there you go.
But yeah, I mean,
Turn your exposure up too, Wes.
My point was I'm just trying to auction the brother off is all I'm doing. I'm just trying to make a little money on the side. That's all
And you need to white balance your camera.
Oh no, that's a
But Shahid
that's
is
a
in
good
a
one. That's a good one.
relationship for at least a year. That I
yeah,
think.
but I'm in a different type of relationship too, where I'm still learning how to live within it. You know what I mean? Like I don't have the typical traditional relationship that everybody else has. So me and my partner are still learning what we are going to accept and not accept within this relationship. So
tell us all about it, brother. Hold on, let me dim my lights a little bit.
I mean, and again, I'm not one that's like I said, I'm not one that's in a rush to be, you know, just be married just to say I'm married. You know what I mean? So like if I start feeling that type of pressure from my partner, it's not gonna really move me any, you know what I mean? Like she has to make a decision on if this is, you know what I mean? Like but I am not gonna lie, I am like as I age, it's like what else? You've got enough information on this person. You know what I mean? So I'll be a lie if I said it's not something that I've been considering, but you know, I'm not hell bent on it.
I'm not gonna
So
say the 25 to
Weston gone
27
dark.
again. I'm not gonna say the 25 to 27 again, just because I don't want to give women another box that they can get pregnant in, like another box. You don't want to get into your 30s, and now you got to be between 28 and 30 before you get married, because after 30 now you're damaged goods. Like, and I know, Chris, you don't believe after 30. I believe you said that before, but still, it's like,
No, I don't
why are we
subscribe to
putting
that.
another box on that? Like that
I don't
that
subscribe to
don't
that.
sound
I
good.
mean,
Okay.
I think I think that, you know, ultimately you're going to decide to do what you're going to do, right? I got married at 22. I had my third kid by 23, right? I wouldn't recommend that for anybody. I think, you know, if you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it whatever age you decide, right? I don't think that you're damaged goods at, you know, at 35, at 40. Do your ovaries, you know, I'm not a woman, so, and I don't have no ovaries, you know, but is it later on in life that, you know, it's less likely that you'll have a child? Yeah, you know, it's less likely. But you know, I still don't subscribe to that. You know, I had my last kid at 29 going into 30. So, you know, my last kid. So, you know, you can take it what you will. I did not live my life that way, but I still wouldn't have my kids have a kid before like 23, 24, before they graduate from school. I'll say that much. Before they graduate from college, I don't want any of my children, and I can't control it, but that's what I'll tell them. Don't, you know, if you can control it, don't have a child before you graduate from college and you establish yourself.
So you
I
have all
definitely agree
boys,
with that.
right, Chris?
Yep.
So are you encouraging marriage, or it's just like straight into talking about children?
No, I'm encouraging marriage. Yeah. So without getting into it, yeah.
Gotcha.
I would love to chime in. Are y'all able to hear me?
Go. Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right. So all these are different perspectives, different opinions. Beginning and end of the day, you like what you like. If you're serious and you want a big family, then obviously you need to start at an earlier age. So women mentally mature faster than men, so their window of opportunity or their most fertile years are much sooner. Men mature much later. So it just comes down to, if you're serious, if you want a family, then, you know, really you need to be starting at like 21. But for 21-year-olds, they typically would want to date somebody who's in their 30 or 35, because that man is established. He's entered into his highest earning potential. He's more serious at that time as far as like having a family and things like that. So it all comes down to your needs and wants, because of course you have to be mentally uh, or intellectually mature. You got to understand what it is that you want. Most typically in the Western culture, 21-year-olds aren't serious about that. They on TikTok and all that kind of stuff. So it's just like that wouldn't be a good advice for them. So I would say for, those who aren't serious and things like that, then yeah, they would maybe need to wait later on, 25, 26. But once again, that window does not change. So if that maturity or that seriousness for family comes at a later time, then and they want a big family, then unfortunately they got a shorter window that they're working with. So like I said, it just all comes down to uh, just your makeup, like just what you're trying to do, what you're wanting to accomplish. So, but I don't think I definitely don't think men should marry early, because men, like I said, we don't mature until we're like in our mid 30s, 40s. So men, I mean, not saying they can't, but outside of the norm, it's not good for men to marry at an early age, because they're still trying to figure out life. They're still not serious about family and all those kind of things. So it's just like they're still trying to get their purpose. They're trying to figure out what their goals and everything are. So, but if women are trying to, or marriage minded, and they're serious and they want to start a family, then they need to be looking for the older men, which isn't really talked about here in the West, but in different cultures, it's very well a normal practice, and it makes complete sense when you talk about the mental maturity of both genders. That's my take
Colin,
on
did I hear you say that women at 21 should marry men 35?
it. Age 30, 35, because men are more mature at that age.
Interesting.
And then they can provide for a family. So
I mean that typically makes, honestly, that makes the most sense. Like, people love bringing up scripture and all that. Like, that's typically how it went. Like, women were marrying young and men were marrying at an older age. That's how.
it's just not
That's how.
taught. Go ahead, Shay.
Go ahead, Colin.
No, I was just saying it's just not taught over here. I definitely wasn't taught that. This is something that I'm just not being introduced to with my current woman, because I wasn't looking for, a very young lady like that. I mean, mine was like 25, 26. But it's just like I've been educated on these things. I read for myself, not just being fed these things, but it does make a whole lot of sense, because men are mentally different from women. Women, I mean, they're talking about marriage and families and things like that when they're still like they're entering high school. They're talking about that at 15, 16. So it's just like they're more serious about relationships and more family oriented at an early age, because they mature much faster than men.
No, it's funny that you said that though. What stuck out to me is that actually that they're being women girls are talking about marriage at the age of 13 and 12, and and while it may start with simple, them playing with their baby dolls or whatever, but they actually have conversations with whether it's their mother or their father or whatever the case is, about literal marriage, and one day you're gonna want to meet someone like this or like that. They're actually having pseudo real conversations far earlier than we are.
I wonder what would happen if we
Exactly.
had those same conversations with our young men.
It still wouldn't matter though, because the naturally we don't mature until later in age anyway. So like, we can have those conversations, but a conversation is not going to mature a man. You know what I mean? He still has to. What's innate in him is what's innate in him. Excuse me. You know what I mean? Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Shay. I didn't interrupt you last time. Go ahead.
So it's like, you know what I mean? For me, I had a great 2-parent home, head on my shoulders, focused on school, athletics, etc. But I still had things that I just needed to grow out of. Most men at the age of 25 are not ready. I don't see how many conversations that can be had to get that man ready to provide, protect, sustain, and lead an entire family at 24, 25 years old. It's just, it's less than likely.
I mean, I agree with it with the point as far as financially. A lot of times it takes us a while to get to where we're comfortable enough to take care of a household. But um, I think intellectually and responsible, being a responsible man, can be taught at an earlier age, and I think we can respond and actually be better suited for relationships earlier and actually mature earlier. I think that we are taught that that we got to go sow our oats, and we're allowed the freedoms to do the things that we do at a younger age. Like even a lot of people who grow up in that household with the mother and father in the household, it's a stable household and everything. They're still not having conversations with their parents about sexual relations. They're still not having conversations with their parents about how a marriage should look like. It's conversations on go to school, get your education, do all this, go man up. But it's very rarely, in my perspective, where we're actually talking about relationships, where we're actually talking about this is how, and for me, this is how you budget. Like this is how you handle your finances. We don't. Those are conversations that aren't had that would help a man mature faster. There's certain
I
things
agree.
that
I agree with you, Rob. But then you got to think the counter effect to that, because the counter effect to that, now you have to cut into that young man's childhood. That's just the reality. Because at 16, 17 years old, or even earlier than that, 13, 14, women, little girls are already in the mindset of their mothers are teaching them how to wean children, how to cook, how to provide, how to take care of a house, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think it's necessarily, I mean, maybe it is just a cultural thing. But then again, it's like, what are we gonna sacrifice? Because when we look at other cultures that kids don't, well, it's really no such thing as kids in certain cultures. Once you hit 13, you a man and you gotta go get it on your own, provide for a family, et cetera, et cetera. So we don't want to go that route. So it's like, what are we going to get? What are we willing to give in order to get what it is we want? Are we going to cut into 4 to 5 years of a young man's life to where it's like, okay, instead of that, because we really not having these conversations with young men until they are about 21, 22. So are we going to cut into something and start having these conversations with them at 15, 16, and then now they just don't get to be children anymore or kids anymore? Like, you know
But
what I mean?
to your point, Shahid, aren't we cutting into women's into girls' lives? Aren't we cutting their childhood short?
Oh,
No,
By
here you
no,
go. Here you
that's
go.
no,
right, no, right? I
absolutely.
mean,
If you just leave young girls, like you can see it in just, I worked in education majority of my professional life. You could just see the difference in little boys and little girls in the adolescent level, that it ain't really even conversations that these parents are having. Little women and girls, the female species just develops
you're
and
right.
matures much faster than men do.
Mm-hmm.
You're
You know what I
right.
mean?
You're right.
To
Yeah.
that point, what holiday does? Yeah, spring break. My niece, both of my cousins came down from school. They're both in high school. Both of them 17. One lives in. They live in 2 different states, but I had this same exact talk with them, and just to point just the differences in that, she's talking about relationships, and which sparked the whole conversation to come up. So she's already talking about how men are trash and things like that. Boys are trash and they make me sick and things like that. And I actually had my girl on the line. I had Esther on the line, and she heard the talk. So me and her was just talking to her about just the differences in men and women, how we mentally mature at a younger age or at an older age, and women's mature at a younger age. So even as I'm having that conversation in the same room, the 17-year-old, my cousin, the boy, he was just on the game, and I'm like, hey, did you understand what I said? And he was just like taking off his headset. What did you say? And I was like, you see what I mean? It's just like we still playing video games. We still not at our mature age. Like we're playing video games. Like we're not thinking about family and everything. You're already talking about how boys are trash and things like that, which was already perplexing to me. But just to this point, is it's like, yeah, they mentally mature at much earlier ages, 12, 13, because she's already talking about relationships and how she's already had bad experiences with boys in high school and things like that. So it's just like, yeah, get serious about relationships, learn how to properly vet, but it's just like more than likely the person you're going to be vetting is not going to be the same age as you.
So
I
also
mostly disagree.
you could look at it just from a scientific perspective, a biological perspective. Like women or girls, they can start to carry children between 11 to 13, right? So you have to, in order to become a parent, you have to mature faster. Yes, men can start producing children at that age as well. However, there's no stoppage to us. It's men 80 years old today still having children. So it's like we don't necessarily become fathers at that age. You know what I mean? So it's just like for a woman, she has to become more mature, more locked in, more focused than a young man does.
So I have to address
kind
Wes
of,
also because Wes, I'm sorry, Robert, because Wes said, "What about the woman's?"
Well,
Wes,
listen. Well, wait. Hold on.
women are
Wait.
mature enough to
Wait.
make
Before,
decisions.
right. No,
So
listen. My
go ahead.
only point was that that there is a flip side to that coin. The way that you that you gave the way that you gave the way you said it just now was as though I had some sort of opposition to it. It was just a consideration to ponder. That's all it was.
So
That's
not really
all.
opposition, but what was your
Oh,
reasoning behind
the
saying that?
oh, just because I heard that because there's always a flip side of the coin, so I wanted to consider that and hear thoughts on that.
Because yeah, there are some cultures out there where it's just like they're marrying off 14, 15-year-olds. We have already chosen you a beautiful wife. We got the perfect wife for you. So in
Right.
that sense, then
But look, but Colin, they look who they marrying them off to. They not marrying them off
right.
to a
But
17-year-old boy. They marrying them
right,
like
exactly, to
40-year-old.
a man.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to go back to is just like I was just giving that illustration as far as like that's the only scenario I could see where it's just like, oh, she didn't have a chance. She didn't have a chance at life because I think that's what Wes is saying. It's like, well, what about the girl who? What about her life and things like that? And it's just like they're mature enough to understand what it is that they want and what they're getting into. Everybody just act like they're just being bonked over the head and just kidnapped, and they wake up and it's just like here's your new husband. It's just like they know exactly what they're getting into. So it's just like when Robert, boy, if you don't stay on that call line and make sure we ain't getting no calls.
I really.
You don't steal that plane and let that man speak.
I'm trying.
Dang.
It's just it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. Go ahead.
I'm almost about to finish. But yeah, it's just like because we hear the rhetoric here in the United States where it's just like, oh, that sounds like, all the terms they use and things like that with age gap dating and things like that. Like, that's just gross and nasty and things like that. They're trying to make it seem like it's just it's illegal, but it's just like that's just making it assume that the women aren't cognizant enough to know what they're getting into. Like they can't make their own decisions. It's just like they're not blindly getting into these situations. They ain't even a situation. They're not blindly getting into these relationships or marriages. They're making a choice. It's just like, so at this point, what we're saying, women mature much faster. So it's just like to undermine an 18-year-old, 21-year-old, like, oh, you have no idea what you're doing. Yeah, she still is underdeveloped and things like that. Like wrong. They actually start developing at 12, 13.
And see, my whole disagreement is based on the fact that our society has gone with that for so long without even trying anything different, right? So if you're teaching a young woman how to be a wife at an earlier age, of course she's going to understand those things at an earlier age. And the fact is, if we just left kids alone, do you think that women are going to grow up playing with their dolls and playing house inside of those scenarios?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. But
Yes.
that I'm gonna search for a study on that because I don't know the answer
So
on that.
here's the flip
But
side to that, Rob. What you're and not because I'm gonna give you the mic back. What you're saying is, with your logic, what you're saying is, if we try something else, we can get women to physically develop at the same rate as men do. But since we've been so conditioned, we just think this. It's a mental and it's a maturity thing. It has nothing to do with the conditioning. It's just this is how it is. Men mature more and develop more physically. Women develop more mentally, and that's just how it is. It's not like men are stronger and faster because we trained, more. People was like, hey, get in the gym. No, that's just how it naturally is for us.
No, what I'm
And
saying, I'm not necessarily disagreeing that women mature faster. I kind of agree with that because we need the strength and stuff to do dumb shit because that's what we got to do. But I am saying that just like for myself, had I known everything that I know now earlier, had I had a mentor who started teaching me to 12, I wouldn't have lost out on my childhood. I would have still played football. I would have still played basketball. I would have still dated and all that other stuff. But I would have had more knowledge about stuff and about what my role is supposed to be, which in turn matures me faster. It's not just about the natural maturement. It's about what we're actually able to teach our young men so that they have the ability to think upon what it is that they are required for. You know what I mean? Like we all can say that if like even in sports in itself, we can all say if I knew everything that I knew in sports when my body was right, man. But it's like we tend to say that men mature fast. The same kid that's playing video game, if we required him to learn at the rate or learn the women to learn or just naturally teach them, then he would be more mature. It's just the way it is. In my
Yeah,
opinion, I don't believe it's just
by a
women
few, by
mature
a few.
faster and we can't do
I
anything about it.
agree.
I believe we can. A woman who's 21 to marry somebody who's 35.
I agree with you to a certain extent, though, Rob. But if you compare yourself at 23, 24 to a man that's 45, no matter how much maturity and conversations that you had at a young age as a young boy, the likelihood of you being able to do what that man at 45 does is very slim. That's because he's already reached his peak. He's reached his prime where you still have years to go, no matter how many conversations you have, no matter how many times, if you don't have a PlayStation or X, Y, and Z.
Facts,
Because
but at the same
playing
time, we
football
often
teaches.
get, I was gonna say we often get up on the stage and we say things that are basically describing women as immature. They don't know themselves. We say a whole lot of things that kind of describe them as immature, but then at the
We
same time we
who?
say
Please be specific, because y'all are just throwing
I'm
out
saying,
just
I'm saying,
these
I'm
blatant
saying
terms.
as a whole, as a
We.
collective, because I don't say it right. So as a whole, as a collective, we're on stage together. We say these things. We say the opposite as well. But as a collective and as social media, as a humankind, a lot of folks are out there saying basically women are immature even if they're at a later age because they don't understand certain things or they won't listen to a man or this, that, and the third, right? But then we say
Well,
that they mature
not what
quicker.
we
It's
say.
like,
What we say,
but
no, what
but
we say. I'm gonna
Yeah.
correct. I'm
Nah.
gonna correct you, Rob. What we say is women have been conditioned to move away from
Right.
what they've traditionally their most
Right.
natural state. So
Right.
now
that's one.
the women of today that we talk about are the women that are influenced by the social media and all of this, all of these things like, chasing the bag,
Right.
etc.
Get
Versus,
married later, have kids later, or not even get married. It's just have a kid, have a baby, and get a
I'm
man
not talking
at
about
a.
that side of it. I'm not talking about that side of it because you guys are
So what?
accurate. You guys, that's what we talk about. But there's
What
a whole
side are
other
you
side
talking
about
about?
side of the thing, the side of things where we actually talk about the mentality of a woman outside of chasing the bag. We talk about how they can relate to men better. Those are also things that would be considered an immaturity if you can't
huh?
express yourself in a certain way. If you can't express yourself a certain way, or if you can't communicate in a certain way, communication. Uh, 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 God, I
But
forget the
but
term, but if you
Rob,
cannot communicate right, you could also be considered immature in your communication. So when we're talking about women in their
Wait,
yeah, this
Robert, I gotta
God didn't
wait,
want
wait,
God didn't
Robert,
want God didn't want you to say that, Rob.
Robert, I got a question for you, real quick.
we're also
Wait,
And he's still going.
incorporating.
yeah,
See, look at God.
Robert, I
So,
gotta,
in
I
in,
got
in closing,
no, sir,
Oh,
no, hell no, we
in
gotta
go ahead.
keep this
closing,
going.
did
Not
he come
yet,
back?
not yet. Robert, are
He
you there?
frozen. He frozen. Yeah, like he like this.
He's
I'm,
stuck
I'm
in
here.
his he's stuck in
I'm
his
here.
super he's stuck in his Superman pose.
He can still hear you.
You're
Go ahead,
pixelated,
Carl.
Rob. You're in the Matrix.
I mean, my question for Robert was, what the hell is he talking about? I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
really trying to
I
understand
can
what
still
he's talking about.
hear you.
What are you talking about, Robert? Help me
You muted,
understand.
Shaheed.
Turn your camera off, Robert, and you
I
might be able
said
to your audio go
I
through.
don't think we get on here and talk about how immature women are. I think we come on and we
Right.
talk about how women have been conditioned and the environment around them, the societal norms, etc., have
That's why I wanted
made
clarity on the we. Like, who's
right
we?
have made women, kind of get out of the actual things that they desire. Like you get women talking about how they want marriage and it's no men out here, but you're doing everything and putting yourself in position to where the men are not looking, where the men are not at. You know what I mean? That's what we're talking about. Like, for example, you think as a woman that you're about to enter into a dating pool at 35 years old when you know what I mean? It's like, look
Men
at
are
all these,
looking, not even
yeah, look
looking
at
in
all
that
these
age
little
range.
22 and 23-year-olds out here. Like, why would I look into a dating pool with a woman that's 35 with 3 children? Like, that's what we talk about. We don't talk about how immature they are. We might talk about how, I hate to say it, delusional they might be, but that don't really got nothing to do with immaturity.
Am I back?
Which is
Right.
something we actually talked about earlier
When I
on.
said who would he mean by we, it's just like I wasn't even talking about us. Like, what gender are you talking about? Because it's like it's women that tell other women don't do this to the
Right.
younger women and things like that. It's just like, or downplaying their intelligence, saying, "Oh, they're not of age. They don't understand what they're doing." It's just like they're a grown adult. They're 18, 21. It's a whole grown adult. But it's just to
Do I have
downplay and give them
am
an
I,
edge because they've used up their productive years, their fertile
Right.
years. So it's just like they're in competition with these younger women, so they're giving them all this bad advice, knowing that it's not true. But it's just like misery loves company. So it's just like when you talk about we, you're talking about who specifically.
am I back yet? Did it come?
Yes, your picture's not, but your voice is. Go ahead.
Okay, my camera's on. Um, yeah, when I talk about we, and I did kind of state it, it's not just us that's on stage. It's social media in general. It's everyone. Like you were saying, Colin, because sometimes it is the women who get on stage and they do the same thing, right?
Sometimes everyone, you need to be more specific because you're all over the place.
What I'm saying, I'm not all over the place. What I'm saying is just as a community, a lot of people are on stage talking about that. It's not everybody, it's some people. It's a lot of times it's we. When I say we, I mean it's just people who decide to get up on stage and pontificate about whatever it is that's on their mind, right? So, but when I'm talking about maturity, I get what you guys are saying. I get what you guys are saying, but oftentimes whenever we're trying to advise someone and somebody comes and asks us a question, we don't get into what it is that we get into what it is that maybe they can do that would help mature them. Actually, we don't just sit there and talk about hey, you should be looking to get married at a certain age and this and that and the third. Every now and then we're saying, hey, sometimes you got to sit back and look at yourself. Sometimes we sit back, we say these things, and when you tell somebody you have to sit back and look at yourself, you have to grow, you have to mature in certain areas. So it's not that. What I'm saying is we also we speak to what you guys are talking about, but we also speak to the maturity of women as well. And
I got to disagree. So, see, but the difference is, Rob, you can be mature and still be influenced and still make bad decisions. For example, like what we're saying right now in the States today is that there are women at the age of 21, 22, maybe even 19-ish that are married, that are ready and prepared to be married, have a husband that will take care of, provide for, and do everything that she wants them to do. However, you also get the women that we talk about where somebody might get in their ear and say, girl, you only 21 years old. Don't do that. Go travel the world. Go have children. Go get all these degrees, et
Get your
cetera, et
PhD.
cetera.
Yeah, get your
And then
PhD
all of a
first.
sudden, here they come when they're ready to settle
Settle
down
down.
and look at it. It's like, oh, you're 35. Great, you did this and did that. But however, you had a kid on the way, and you know what I mean. So you expect me, the 35-year-old bachelor that's got everything under the sun going for him right now, to choose you? That's what we talk about.
And it's not being
Well,
insensitive, but it's just like you
I'm
got
not
people with
doing
you got women with all these accomplishments, things like that, flinging themselves out the window, committing suicide. It's like on paper they have everything together, they got it all together, but it's just like,
something missing.
obviously mentally, internally, they're not happy. There's other things going on, so it's just like they're being lied to. So it's just
So
like, so yeah, people in the West aren't having these type of conversations because we're not being taught that way. So I'll agree with that if that's what you mean when you say we, because like I said, I wasn't taught that way, and I wasn't introduced to that until my current girlfriend, my current woman. So, but it makes sense. I had to be educated on that because like I was just it was just given to me a certain way to do this, and then do this. But it's just like looking back, it's just like that was all a lie because I wasn't taught about the biology, the mentality of a man and a woman. And a lot of people don't understand the mentality of a woman and a man, about that maturity and when we mature and things like that. So it's just like that's why there's so many incompatibilities and things like that. Yeah, there's some that work out, that go to college and school together, and those are actually more successful. Those that are dating in college and going to school together, they'll end up marrying while pursuing their education. It's not always the case, but it's like it's more successful than those who are completely in different spaces and they just meet and then they're just having fun. Or the girl is serious, but the guy isn't serious. He's just playing games. He plays on the football team, whatever it is. And even to your point about sports, it's like sports teaches men about teamwork, discipline, and all those things. But at the end of the day, those football players, basketball players, baseball players are still going to their dorm playing video games. So yes, mentor can steer you in the right direction at a younger age, but he's still not going to be serious as far as like the intangible things about family and things like that, because it's just one of those things where it's just like a guy still has to go out and experience that.
I'm a living.
we're taught that. We're taught that. We talk about how we taught that. We talk
We're
about how we're
taught
taught to
what?
be strong, but maybe I'll just speak for me. I was taught how to be strong, how to suck it up, how to be a man, but I was also
Well, we
taught how
all
to get
taught
women
that.
at a no,
Same.
hold on. I was also taught how to get women at a very efficient rate. And I feel like most of us are also taught, hey, have you got any coochie yet? Are you still a virgin?
Right.
Those type of things are being bred into us at a much
And
younger
that's
age. I'm gonna try to
incorrect.
stop there because next time that we
But Rob,
hold on. Next time that we are speaking to a woman's maturity, I'm just gonna put it in our private chat and say, hey, this is what I'm talking about. Because I feel like I get what you guys are saying. It's two different things, but we do it both. We do both.
yeah, but Rob, you're conflating two arguments. So, for example, when you say, "Hey, did you get some coochie yet?" That's typically coming from our peers. Men are being
Right.
taught.
Facts.
Mentors aren't teaching us. Hey,
No.
before I teach you about
Mentors are.
business,
Facts.
did you
You
get
guys are
coochie
proving my
first?
point.
No,
You
Before I
guys are
teach you
proving my
about
point
business,
though.
did you get coochie first?
but let me be clear too. I just want to speak to that super quick. No, the reality of it is because I learned how to get women and how to be a player and and all of those negative things. I learned it from older guys. I learned it from my older brother and all of his older friends who could have been like mentors, because we're not talking about a few years
Right.
older. We're talking
Because
about
I was just
10,
about to say
11,
that's
12
not a
years older than
mentor.
me.
That's not a
Right,
mentor.
Yeah,
but my point is the influence from older people is not simply our peers. The
right.
influence comes
You're
from
only
older people, and everybody we look to is potentially a mentor when you're young and you're looking at other people who have done certain things or they look successful or popular in a particular community. By default, they become a mentor, whether or not they're
I agree.
well
I
intentioned or
agree.
not.
But Wes, all that does is speak to the immaturity of men. That's all that does. It
It's
shows like
Right,
because we're not
which is
taught.
Rob's
It's
point
it's
because
speaking
we're
to
not
the
taught.
teaching. It's speaking to the teaching. Nobody
Right.
says, "Hey, girl, go be a hoe." Nobody says that. Nobody teaches. I guarantee you, there'll be a whole lot more women out there, but it's not
But
taught.
nobody,
They're taught that
but Robert, nobody
indirectly.
actually tells a guy go be a hoe either.
I
Yeah,
can
they do.
Did you hit it yet?
I
It's
can
way
speak
more important.
from
Do you know her
experience.
middle name? Like, like we.
Oh,
Go ahead, bro. Go ahead,
but
bro.
Rob, I can
We
speak
talking
from
in circles now.
experience. I can speak from experience because I did have those mentors. I had great men, great leaders around me, and they still weren't trying to put me in position. They were teaching me all the things, how to grow into a man. Like right now, I'm 34 years old. I'm not trying to prepare a 7. I deal with, high schoolers, etc. Training them for college and whatnot. I'm not trying to prepare them to be married at 23, 24 years old. I'm trying to put them in a position so that next mentor can have them when they about 24, 25, and they can teach them how to get, prepare for a family and protect at 30, etc. Like y'all, it's like y'all trying to fight the fact that women just mature faster.
But here's what Rob is
That's
saying.
not.
Here's what Rob is saying. We can't negate the impact of being taught something, of learned behavior. Like that's what we all get what we're saying. And so even with what you just said, Shahid, I absolutely get it and respect it. But again, you just said yourself, you're only trying to prepare them for X, Y, and Z instead of something else. And here's what I know.
All right, let me cut you real quick, Wes. I'm doing that because I know what the cognitive ability is. I've worked in mental health and education, etc.
Right.
So I know the cognitive ability.
Right. So I was just going to speak to that cognitive ability. I was just about to say my example was going to be how if you take a kid, you could take 2 kids. Now, granted, everybody's intellectual capacity might be a little different, but generally speaking, if you take a kid and you just start teaching them ABCs in first grade, second grade, third grade, whatever, that's all they're going to learn. But you take that same child and you start teaching them a higher level of math at that same age, or a different level, or teaching them multiple languages, they'll learn that as well. They're not necessarily, their limitations, our limitations as humans, even when we're young, usually comes from the people who are teaching us, not from what we're capable of, which is why you have kids who can learn multiple languages who live in a household where there's multiple languages, and so they learn multiple languages at a young age. And those kids aren't particularly high intellect kids; they're just average kids, but they learn whatever's put in front of them. And so, to that point, maybe.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, to that point, maybe you can clean this up. I think what you're saying is that if you teach someone something different at an earlier age, a man something different at an earlier age, he'll learn that thing instead of the other.
No.
Yeah, and there's an actual study out there, and I hope it flows through right, and I hope it comes through without God cutting off my mic, right? So there was a study where scientists put fleas inside of a jar. The fleas were perfectly capable of jumping outside of that jar, but they put a lid on that jar. So now the fleas are only able to jump to the top of the jar where the lid is. Once they took that lid off, the fleas wouldn't jump out. They would only jump as high as that lid is. That is interesting, but it's more interesting that the next 3 generations only jumped as high as that lid was. So basically what I'm saying is they weren't taught that they were capable of jumping out of that lid. And when I hear that we're saying that women mature faster than men and we can't teach them to jump out of the lid, that's my thinking in that. Because just like for me, I didn't believe that I can reach certain heights because I hadn't seen it. It wasn't an example for me. So when I'm talking about being taught that we can, God dang, I don't know how to put it. Basically, I'm saying basically what I'm saying is, Shahid, in your belief that the cognizant conditioning and understanding of a young man is limited to where he's at that point, is that lid. You're not allowing him to be capable outside of that jar because you're saying this is as far as you're going to. But it may be very well possible that
No.
he can learn to jump out of
We're
that
not
jar
talking
and
about
be further
learning. We're not
ahead
talking about
quicker.
learning
See,
abilities.
you're
We're
only
talking about the natural makeup of men
Okay,
and
well, when
women.
we're talking
male.
about maturity, if I
Yes.
use the word learn, I'm talking about maturity. Maturity, I get what you guys are saying, but maturity is sometimes factored into what we learn. We learn things that help us become mature. It ain't just about we're limited by what we know,
Right, but
and if
Rob,
we don't know
go ahead.
how to mature to the next lot, we're not going to grow.
Yeah, but this conversation has always been a
Go ahead,
male's
bro.
maturity in comparison to a woman's maturity. So going back, I'm gonna go back to the physical maturity example. No matter how much you try to teach this little girl to be stronger and faster than that little boy, the likelihood is she probably is not going to be, because men are more naturally physically more mature than women are. That's just what it is. So you can't, there's not many conversations, there's not many training sessions that you're going to be able to do to make this little girl be physically stronger and faster than this little boy is.
I agree with you. I'm not even arguing. I'm not even arguing. Yeah, I'm not really arguing that women mature faster. I don't know. I don't have the science on that. But what I do know is that we
That's
are
been the whole
discounting the
conversation.
ability.
Right.
No, and I said it. I said it
It's like what
earlier.
we've been
I did
talking
say it
about for the
earlier. I
past
said
30
it.
minutes.
No, I did say it earlier that I don't disagree that women, because I don't necessarily know, but that's always what I've been taught. However, I do believe that we can mature as men much sooner and much quicker with the proper education. And that was my whole point, is that, hey, we should be teaching our young men, just like the girls are learning how to play house and dolls and all that stuff at a younger age.
But
Why
Rob,
is it that we get the excuse to say that we have to live a certain amount before we're
Rob,
taught the same things?
I just want to be
He's not getting it.
clear.
He's not getting it.
I just want to be clear that little girls are not maturing faster at the rate that they are over boys because of they're getting dolls in the kitchen.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
This is just natural. It's nature. Nature.
Well, I'm gonna have to push back on that a little bit, because here's the thing: what's the barometer for what? How are we measuring a little girl's maturity? Because she's in this society, and everything that we're measuring it against is societal. So we don't have just a little girl, unless there's a study with just a little girl sitting alone in a garden with nobody else for 20 years until she's mature, and determining and sitting a little boy alone and seeing who's literally maturing faster. We only mature by our environment. It's all our environment. We can't learn without our environment, without something affecting us, or something to and it's, it's just like with reverse engineering.
Here's why this is not true, right? So because when you could take, and I've literally seen this with little baby girls. Like, little girls are naturally drawn to things that spark their maternal instincts. Maternal instinct, maternity takes so much more maturity than what we do. For us, for boys, it don't take a lot of maturity to fight and protect. As long as you are physically gifted enough and you have the wherewithal to throw a punch, to strike, to defend, you need to be mature in knowing when to exercise this. However, when we are given these physical gifts, knowing how to fight, being strong, etc., it's not the same as the gift of knowing how to nurture a child. Like, you just bring a little baby around a 6 or 7 year old little girl. That little 6 or 7 year old little girl is automatically, her nature is going to be drawn to that.
Okay, but does that mean she is more mature, or does that mean that she has a set skill that she's learned and that she's prone to? Just like we have a set skill to be physical. Well, it's a set skill, but
yes, but Rob, she didn't learn that. Nobody taught her that. That's innate in her. Is what I'm saying. Like,
that's what we've been saying all night.
You put that same little baby near a 6, 7 year old boy, he probably gonna start tossing it up and like
playing football with it. Nature, meaning natural.
But that's not. I mean, I hear you, and that's hilarious. But it's not true. The reality of it is that, listen, we've seen in our families, in our lives, you put a little baby next to a little boy, and that little boy becomes a nurturer and a protector, and he automatically cuddles the baby. That happens. The same thing with children, and we can't exclude what that little girl might have saw with her mother or on TV in the process of that. I mean, I'm not one way or another on it, but I do know that we can't discount learning in our environment and what we're influenced by. And the reality of it is that, to Robert's point though, the fact of the matter is that if you give a young man more information or different information, because there are I know men who have raised their children and their young boys in a fashion where I know a couple for sure who have raised their young boys to be on top of everything financial, like raised them like little men. And on the outside, it feels like, you kind of took away the childhood. They didn't get to do whatever. But those young men will be mature, and they'll be mature, and they'll be more prepared for marriage and the like quicker than average guys.
But we're only talking about the rate, right? Yeah, you could speed up a man's maturity 2 to 3 years. But what we've always been talking about is in comparison to women, it's never going to. Men are never going to catch up to women when it comes to maturity.
Yeah. I mean, I got to. That's
different.
and that's the reality of where we are. All that Rob is saying, I believe, and what just makes perfect intellectual sense to me is that that's all based upon the reality that we're in, and we can't discount any of that. We can't take out all of the influences and say that is a constant.
But Wes, we just gave an example where you go into across the world where they're marrying little girls off at 12, 13-year-olds to 40-year-olds. And they don't have anything. The environmental society and all that is totally different from where we are.
We're the only ones that look at that as weird.
Yeah, but let's look. The reality of that is, if you've watched any documentaries on it or whatever, while there's some girls who might flourish in those young marriages, married in an old man, generally speaking, and not just simply from a Western standpoint, but when I've watched documentaries and actually had them, interviewing these girls when they're young, interviewing them when they've older, when they've escaped some of those marriages. The reality of it is that a lot of those girls, just because they got married and was able to have a child, they still weren't mature. They were still kids. You know what I'm saying? And they suffered that trauma of being kids. And yes, they were under a marriage, some marriage construct out in the East somewhere. But for all intents purposes, those kids felt like they were raped. That's just a reality for some of those women. It just is. It's documentaries on it.
Yeah, I mean, you could find information to one-off. Like those are literally one-offs. Like, and it's also when you got like the Western world coming to interview and introduce, like Colin said, oh, this is so wrong, and we are the only ones that frown upon this, that make it just so, like the science says what it says. A woman is no longer able to procreate at a certain age. So that in itself, the woman has a window. The man does not. So, and we still try to like put our own influences on that.
Right.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Thank you. I have some sort of agreement tonight. Great. I think we can end. I think we can end right there. And I have to address this,
ladies.
I'm breaking protocol because we're not supposed to be in the chat. But Carla commented on my earlier comment, said men commit suicide at a higher rate than women. That statement wasn't to measure statistics of suicide rates. The reasoning was the why behind the suicides.
Yeah, the
point I was making was women are getting all the accomplishments and then later on trying to find a family only to find no men waiting for them, because men, to our point, what we were saying earlier, are looking for younger women. So they can't find anyone, therefore they feel empty, even though they got all these accomplishments. So if you want to get statistics about suicides, it's just like, then we could talk about, well, why are men committing suicide? So that was like literally beside the point and had nothing to do with the point I was making. So I just want to clarify that. I ain't gonna let y'all slide with these nonsensical comments.
With that being said, I think we came, we saw, we conquered. Mr. Muhammad, take us home.
It's your favorite black
ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you guys.
Robert, Mr. Muhammad.
Hey man, it was
mute him, please. Mute him, please.
Oh, this thing got to be delayed like a mug. Then it's got to be delayed because I'm talking.
Then Robert, just be quiet. Be quiet.
I don't know, man. I'll see y'all Tuesday on Clubhouse. Favorite Black Cowboy signing out. Robert, you got the floor now.
I'm literally in tears.
I think this thing is hella delayed. It's got to be hella delayed
down,
because you
inside out, turned around.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? It's hella delayed.
Yeah, we hear you.
Oh, these are real tears, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you guys for joining Ask Airlines. I appreciate all the laughter, all the comments. Join us again. Follow me at Longmire44 on all social media platforms. And I'm going to go ahead and interrupt Colin's laughter with passing it to him.
Come back to me, Wes.
Wes Stewart, Artistic IQ on all social media. Been a pleasure. I don't know what's going on now. I don't know what has happened here. Colin, it's on you, brother.
All right. Colin Hardiman, entrepreneur, Houston, Texas. This was a good talk. I'm glad we had this talk because to y'all's point, yes, this needs to be talked about more often because our parents aren't teaching us this. And I think that can kind of be a thwart in what's going on today as far as like why relationships are deteriorating. That's what we just talked about on Tuesday. Everybody's placing blame and things like that, but it's just like if we're educated on the biology and makeup of men and women at an early age, we're teaching our kids this. I think we set our kids up for a better future and more successful relationships. Anyway, that's my closing statement. Go ahead, Chris.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate you for coming tonight. As always, make sure you bring a friend with you next week. Share this on your social media. If you're loving it, you're here. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Bring a friend with you next week. Chris Davis in Atlanta, Georgia, by way of Buffalo, New York. Send us home.
Oh, that was funny.
Yo. Y'all are wild.
That was good. Much needed conversation. Boy, y'all wearing some gold plated skates tonight. Y'all was skating all around the point we was making.
Oh man, I didn't come to another. I understood where young Luke was coming from, man. That's all. I always like to consider the other side of the coin. I'm always looking to educate myself. I'm always looking to learn something.
Yeah, and don't take our word for it. Do some studying. Study everybody that listens tonight. Like, look at the data, look at the statistics, research it yourself.
Somebody's echo.
That's who was. But yeah, the talk I had with my 17-year-old cousin, like it lasted like a good hour and 15 minutes. Just talking to him about this very same thing because she was 17, she's talking about boys are trash. And it's just like, why are you she's already talking, like she's already coming out of high school with men, boys are trash. So it's like I had to educate her on why boys do the things that they do and how we mature later. So it's just like, focus on your school right now. Focus on high school. Focus on graduating. Get your education. So once you're in college, then if you're serious, start looking for a mate in college, or wait till you're out of college and look for somebody older. Or while you're in college, look for somebody older. It's just like that's where what you want is gonna come from.
By next week, we should be able to have super chats. So we'll be able to highlight those. We've been able to fix those issues that we were having. So we should prayerfully keep your fingers crossed, say your prayers to the Lord, that we should be able to get our super chat game on, and we should also start seeing revenue generated from our show. So I don't care if we we don't go, if we go over 2 hours at that point. So, just so you know, but Wes.
Yeah, Wes, what were you about to say?
No, I was just speaking to. I was going to say to what you said though about hey, you told her to just focus, go to school, get your education, X, Y, and Z. But there are many who have the mindset that you have that would say otherwise, not to focus on that, to start being concerned with the man that you're going to choose.
Last 10 seconds.
So, choose me, maybe. Perhaps. I don't know. Yeah.